An adventurer needs three things: energy to carry out any task, the ability to stick to his intentions, and a heart that sympathizes with his friends. A child with red hair shouts to his aunt that when he gets a skill, he will definitely enroll and become an adventurer. One of the children suggests going to look for food. The other one asks what he is telling them. In short, in this world, there is a blessing ceremony. After turning 14, even orphans like them can obtain it, this skill. This was the last chance the four of them could escape from their terrible life. The man, all wounded and bleeding, lies almost unconscious, returning to the kingdom of Centakillion to the church 5 years ago. Someone says that the ceremony this year is very rich in gifts. The child, whose name is Kridrod, was given a top-level skill suitable for magic, Great Sage. The girl Zeta is happy and says that she can't believe that she got the extremely rare dual skill Holy Wave and Healing Hand. Liber was given the Brave skill. If used skillfully, this is also a truly unique skill. The old man says that this is God's grace, and that the power given to them by pitiful people is to fight against terrible monsters and demons. Kridrod says that he will definitely become the best magician in the world. The old man says that he hopes for it, and he tells Zeta to return to the church because her skills are inherent to the Holy Maiden. She happily says that she will definitely be useful to people. The guy says that she will definitely be useful to people. The guy says that he grew up in the slums, and now he's brave. He confidently says that they will do it. The old man says that it is the duty of those who have received the blessings given by God to use them. They should know about it. He asks them if they understand. They joyfully shout that they understood. Then the old man says that they have another one. He can't remember his name, because it doesn't matter, he has no skill. This poor boy's name is Ryuya. He wonders why this is so. Why is it that he alone does not have the skill? The old man comes up and says that he will console him by saying that there are many who have not received the skill. This year, 4 people were present at the ceremony with him, but an exceptional situation occurred. He explains that it is simply unheard of for 3 people to become masters of skills at once, as is the case now, and all of them are of the highest rank. He again does not understand why he is the only one left with nothing. The old man says that such is God's will. He tells him not to be more depressed than necessary. Let him go and return to his old life, because that's how ordinary people live. If he understood, then let him go. Ryuya is still angry and sad at the same time. Why did this happen? 3 others come up to him and start to console him, saying that they are sorry and that he is dear to them. They are just children, and they managed to survive until today because they helped each other. Ryuya looks up with hope. They start saying that everything is different now. With these skills, they will quickly become great. Zeta says that this is where they say goodbye and that she will not forget him. And Liber wishes him luck in searching for trash alone. They leave and discuss on the way. Well, Zeta went overboard with her heartless "I won't forget," because politeness is now a necessary key to success. Is she really practicing on it now? He hears their laughter. Suddenly, someone pulls his hair. The old man tells him, didn't he tell him to get out of here? Because only in submission does the powerless find virtue. The old man says that he will give him advice. Many untalented people often have this story. Does he think that it is worth increasing the level if there is no skill? Then he cuts it off, saying that this is a fantasy, how you can fight monsters and demons and accumulate experience, thereby increasing your level without any skills at all. So this is a completely stupid idea. They throw him out into the street, saying that it's not a sin to be ordinary, but to recklessly go into the forest to level up and end up being eaten by demons. That's what stupid people do. An old man enters a church and says that it is his will that no matter how many mediocrities die, this world will not lose anything, so let it follow the path that suits it best. The thought flashes through Ryu's mind that he has lost. He thinks that any pathetic orphan's life would change if he were to obtain a skill here at the blessing ceremony. In a bet that is made once in a lifetime, he is the only one who has lost. Liber, Zeta, and Kridrod apparently got a big jackpot. This is good in his opinion. Since his friends will be happy, he will be happy too. Then he starts crying. He screams to his sobs how hurt he is. He says a lot of words. Why are they rare? If he got a simple skill that would be well received when registering adventurers, that would be enough. All 3 of them got the strongest skills. With such luck if they could share with him. Then he wipes away his tears and decides to stop this. Now he needs to think about what awaits him. How can he live now? If he continues to live the same life as before, alone, then one day he will die under offense. And what needs to happen to prevent this from happening? Then he will have to make a bet. In other words, he must increase the level. No matter how many hundreds of thousands of people without skills have challenged and failed, in his current situation, the chances are extremely small. At the same time, his level after growing up in the city is equal to 1, probably. This also does not matter. From this moment, in order to survive, in order to look at them a little with triumph, there is no other way. Family, fortune, friends, the one who has nothing to lose, no matter what, can become strong. A few days later, Ryuya, already exhausted, says in agony that this is completely unrealistic and that he will die. He killed 0 monsters. He looks at his palm and thinks what it is. Even the horned hare, who seemed the weakest to him, went and beat him up. He is bleeding again, so he is scared. Anyway, he was running around every single day and only getting more wounds, no serious injuries, but he was scratched and bitten. If things continued like this, it would be brutal. He wonders if it was all pointless. If people without skill try to level up and it all ends sadly, they get killed. It is in a person's best interest to lead a normal life. A dream appears in a person who does not understand his situation, and when he is faced with reality, he sees this. At the end of the path, death awaits a level 1, without skill and comrades in the fight. He says that if he doesn't come back now, then really he stops thinking about it and says that since he's going to die anyway, no matter what path he takes, he thinks that he needs to move forward. And then, deep in the forest, he met a blue dragon. Even he knew about the horror that emanated from the dragon. There are rumors and legends that it killed the best adventurers in the blink of an eye and destroyed countless cities and villages. He trembles and understands that he is dead. He thinks what to do now. Suddenly he hears a voice. Someone says that by the will of heaven he dared to come down to earth, and he never thought that he would encounter such a strange fate. Ryuya thinks that this may be the dragon speaking. They tell him that he is wrong, that he is not just a dragon, he is a snake dragon. Ryuya does not believe it. The dragon serpent says that his fate has managed to unite fate, influence the will of heaven, and bring him together with it. He asks him what he wishes for in the future. Ryuya doesn't understand what he's talking about. What fate? Heaven's will? Desire? He thinks the dragon serpent is talking about how to kill him. The dragon serpent says that whatever he wishes for, in order to grasp this wish, he must do everything with his own hands, until he himself wishes for something with all his heart and stretches out his hands to it. Neither heaven nor earth, nor men nor gods will give him anything. He repeats his question. What does he wish for? The hero asks him again. Ryu thinks what kind of nonsense he is talking again. No matter how much he asked for a skill, the gods did not give him anything. And if he asks for it, will the snake dragon really fulfill his wish? He clenches his fist and says that he then desires power. Such great power that even without the skill that God was supposed to give him, he would have no problem at all. He asks if the dragon serpent will give it to him. The dragon snake begins to laugh. He says that force is possible. However, as he already said, neither heaven nor earth will give him anything. He must grasp his desire himself and feed it. All he can do is help it. He will get everything, desired and unwanted. Ryuya asks if this is true. He replies that this is also the will of heaven. He asks how this is. He says that he will say it briefly now. The blue dragon snake, Omononushi, will become his devilish trainer and train him through brutal beatings until he is exhausted. He confidently says that he has understood him. 5 years later, Ryuya lies on the ground from the impact and is told that the break is over. Ryuya asks the dragon snake teacher to repeat. He says that it is enough. He tells him to check his status. His name is Ryuya. He is level 8,340,17917. He has no skills, but his strength is 27,493,300. Speed is 28,998,234. Physical strength is 31,998,234. Physical strength is 41,616. Intelligence is 25,444,605,11560. 1115. 11,000. Lung 1,000. Ryuya says that he is a talentless person with no skills. He says that for now it is worth training a little more. The dragon tells him to just know that normal people do not exceed level 99. He asks if he is serious. The dragon confirms. He asks why then? Is it because his opponent was a serpent dragon? He replies that he can only say that such is his fate. He says that the snake dragon's maximum level is 10 million. Since he has become stronger with him, it is the best time to stop at this area. Ryuya looks at his palm. To be honest, he hasn't fully realized it yet. He wanted to become strong enough to overcome his lack of skill. He wonders if he has come close to his ideal. The dragon serpent teases him, saying that he is about to cry from sadness. He menacingly says that no, he was remembering his hellish days. He thanks the dragon and says that it's all thanks to him. Then the dragon serpent says that he has a parting gift for him. He says that the power that he received, he himself has grown and grasped over the years. He said that they do not give anything, but as for the gift, let it remain between them. Ryuya agrees and the dragon says goodbye to him. He says his rock has reached the next level. Now he better go and do what he wants. Ryuya asks if they will meet again. He only replies that it will be if that is what his fate has destined for him. Ryuya says that these 5 years were like a dream. He almost died in every way, really. Suddenly, monsters appear behind him. He sees that they are goblins and gets angry because they are so tactless, disturbing his memories. He attacks them. One goblin simply disappears from the blow. He shakes his hand and says that it didn't work because he broke it into small pieces again. If there are no corpses left, he notices that the goblins still don't run away. He beat all the goblins and wonders what to do now. Not only did he become physically stronger through the training, but it also seemed to be a story about working to cleanse his soul of small resentments and hostility. He will gain power and rise, laugh at his friends who abandoned him. Before training, he had such feelings, but now for some reason they were washed away somewhere. He risked his life so much that there would be no time for this. But now everything cannot continue in the same spirit. He remembers something and says that maybe he should implement this plan again. Even without the skill, he can somehow make ends meet with the help of tolerable quests. He jumps off a cliff and decides that he will try to become an adventurer. He lands calmly and walks next to the river. He is stopped by men with a bad look who laugh and say that it is dangerous to wander here alone. The robbers begin to surround him. They say that if he doesn't mind, they will take him to a safe place. Ryuya thinks that if they don't take away personal things by force, then they want him. He asks them if they really kidnap people. One says that by saying this, he is dishonoring them, and that they are ordinary people, friendly and a little wild. One says that, however, if only he had some good skills. One asks the other, the merchant will pay a lot for it. The other says, what a wonderful plan it is. They keep saying that's what it means. If he doesn't want to die, he'll follow them like a sweetheart. He shouldn't worry. They'll sell him for a high price. He'll be happy if they set a high price for him. Ryuya tells them that, unfortunately, he has no skills. Even if they sell him, they won't get much money for him. One tells him that even if he lies, the merchant's evaluation skill will see through him. Frankly, they will be satisfied even if they sell it for cheap. Ryuya tells him that there is nothing to be done. He asks him if he has resigned himself to the fact that he has no source of income. He replies that he has. The next moment, Ryuya simply hits the man, sending him flying far away. The bandits begin to panic. They shout that he killed him with his bare hands. They say to be careful, because he still has skill. They reason, is a skill that can be used for surprise attacks really such a great thing they decide to kill him because he will no longer be a commodity? Ryuya reflects that their comrade was killed, but the joy of the high quality of the loot is higher for them. He calls them mentally freaks. They all attack him at once, but they all just die. The last one trembles with fear and asks for help. Ryuya says that if he lets them go, they will kill, sell, because they have already done enough. Ryuya doesn't feel like a callous person who doesn't care about the killers at all. But rather than drag him out of this wilderness for several days and hand him over to the proper people, it's better to kill him. Another one comes up and says that while he was doing his own thing, he dared to kill everyone. Ryuya turns around and is told that he has such a powerful skill. The jock asks if this is a pure buff skill. He thinks it's the leader and says he doesn't have any skill. Here the jock changes his appearance and says that, to tell the truth, He is also a carrier of the enhancement skill. He has a plus 10% to his strength. So why don't they measure their strength? Ryuya asks him if he listens to him at all. Ryuya asks if he really is robbing in the mountains. Since he has a skill, he is the chosen one. Jock asks what of it. Ryuya says that the point of power is to use it for others, but he, having skill, only uses it for himself. In addition, he tries to harm others. He asks if he is stupid. Then he says that then, as he wanted, they will measure their strength. Ryu lifts a huge stone with one hand. The jock immediately gets scared. Ryuya calls him a robber and points a rock at him. He screams, and eventually the rock crushes the jock. Ryuya looks up and sees someone. He jumps and reaches the man. He asks if he is the merchant who incited those robbers. He trembles with fear. Ryuya asks if they were his bodyguards. He says no. Ryuya says he met him on the road while transporting goods. Ryuya says that the shop is closing today, but he denies it more and more. The merchant immediately falls to his knees and begs for forgiveness, saying that Ryuya is truly strong. Since that's the case, maybe under his leadership they will find a useful use for his skill. Ryuya is surprised. The merchant quickly rattles off that, as a reward, he will pay him 3 times more than he should have given to those slackers. Such is the price of his abilities. Ryuya asks if he is really offering to become his accomplice. The merchant says that he seems to have misunderstood, because such trade is also a wonderful business. You give customers what they want. Once she took the 16th place of desired professions. If he is not interested in money, it is possible to pay in another way. Ryuya listens to this with a stony face. The merchant says that it can be paid from an innocent girl to a mature woman, of course, even by men. He laughs, says that of course it is for the world, for people. The next second, blood spurts. The merchant dies. He enters the dealer's car, opens the door and says that if there is someone here, they better run. He sees a little girl with chains on her hands and wonders if she is also a victim of kidnapping. In the kingdom of Centakilian, in the fashion center of Simonura, the girl is addressed as Madam and asked if she has any wishes, if she needs the bare minimum or something for a party. They assure that they will fulfill any order. They say that today she also has a nice casual outfit, just like pajamas. The girl is shaking and does not understand what to do. She was allowed to choose whatever she wants, but it is her first time in such a fashionable store. She asks Ryu to help her. She sees Ryu sitting on a chair with his head down, looking gloomy. She is scared because she doesn't see any enthusiasm in him. She thinks he is rather annoyed, which is to be expected from city people. Maybe it's cool on the contrary. At this time, Ryuya remembers how the girl asked him, promised that she would do anything, just let him take her with him. He asks if the merchant caught her. He asks how to return to his native place, with tears that, in truth, she recently went through a blessing ceremony, and so she was able to get a skill, but it was some kind of amazing skill. From that very day, a strange atmosphere began to hang in the village. One night, when she was sleeping, suddenly, Ryuya asks if she was kidnapped by a merchant back then. She says that it is true what they said, that there would be more than enough buyers for a young girl with such skill. For them, a rare skill is priceless. He then ponders how in this story, the merchants learned about the girl's existence. He assumes that they whispered about her in the village. The girl tells him that she does not want to return there, neither home nor that village. Ryuya picks up the girl and agrees to her request. He says that he plans to become an adventurer now. The girl says that she will be too then. In general, this is the course of events that led them here, but it is really good. The worker says that her outfit is suitable for any long journey, as he requested. The girl asks him how he is. He gives them the parting gift of the dragon's snake. He decides that it may have such a use. The girl thanks him and says that she will definitely do everything for him. He does not understand why she should give herself so ardently. They are walking in the Centakilian table. The girl asks her what kind of big building it is. He answers that it is a castle. She asks if the king really lives there then. He thinks that he does. Ryuya thinks to himself that he came back here 5 years later. In the same kingdom, the Adventurers Guild, he says. How great in place as it should be. Ryuya says that abilities mean everything here. So there are a lot of rude people here. He calls her Noam and asks if it bothers her. She panics and says no, it doesn't bother her. Ryuya says that it seems unreal, but they will go in. They come in and ask if they can come in. The worker asks menacingly if they really want to register. They get scared. Noam says it's a monster. She knew the Adventurers Guild was a scary place. The worker Lundite says it seems like she's afraid of her, so she's not useful at all. But the young man next to her has strong nerves. Ruya says that 5 years ago he was completely petrified in front of her. She looks and remembers that this is the boy who called her aunt. Nuim convinces herself that she is not scary. She is huge, but not scary. She is huge, but not scary. She asks what happened to the other three. How are they doing? He tells her. She listens and says that people with rare skills are recruited ahead of time. This is normal for the church, and that they remain a company without any morals. Ryuya says that this is the reason he trained alone, so that even without skill he could become an adventurer. He says that in addition to helping someone in trouble, he bows and adds that he asks her if she could register him as an adventurer. She starts to say something doubtfully, and the Noam also asks her. She says that Ryuya is a wonderful person, and that he saved her when she was kidnapped by bad people. Such a wonderful person will definitely be a good adventurer, and that this is the pure truth. Ryuya doesn't understand and asks why she acts hotter and more desperate than him. She awkwardly starts to justify herself. The girl calls him stupid. She asks him to repeat what an adventurer needs. He replies that it is energy that helps him to do any job, the ability to stick to his intentions, and a heart that sympathizes with his friends. The girl smiles and says that he is accepted. She explains that among the points there was no skill. She kept him company during training countless times. Noam tells him that he is such a good man, and then adds that Miss Lundite is good, even if she looks formidable. Lundite says the girl has been through a lot, so this is entirely a legal matter. She replies that something like that. Ryuja starts talking about this incident. When he met her, he killed the merchant and his henchmen who attacked him on the spot. Lundite says that outside the city there are essentially no problems with hand-to-hand combat. She calls him a good guy. Ryuya says that the merchant had something that might be useful among his things, and he gives it to her. She takes the documents and is surprised. She shouts that these are trade account books, duplicate contracts, even notes on customer habits. It's cool to give such a gift before registration. Ryuya thinks to himself that it's good that he took precautions. Nuzio thinks to himself that it's good that he took precautions. Nuem says that he is still amazing. Lundite says that she will then give the promising recruit this. She hands over a paper with a sign on it and asks if he knows how to use it. Noam asks what it is. He says it's a guild card, shows the information needed to register. He says that's how they smear the blood, and this is what happens. Lundane looks at his stats and says that 17 levels is enough for a beginner. She asks if this is the result of training. He thinks to himself that it can't be because his level is too low. Ryuya asks them to wait for a second and goes out. He sees for himself that his level is 8,347,917. He breathes a sigh of relief and wonders why he was shown this then. He comes back and asks if it's true that 99 is the maximum level for a human. Lundite confirms and says that it's written in some book, but she hasn't seen it in practice. Even an adventurer can get rank A upon reaching level 50, and for someone to go over level 60 is already something out of legend. Ryuya understands, in other words, the card is not designed to show a level higher than 99, so it displays the last 2 digits available for display. Lundite says that the registration is complete. Now Noom interrupts her and asks to take another person, asks to love and favor, to let her work here. Lundite says that since she passed the ceremony, she is already a fine adult. There is no reason to refuse her even based on the guild's principles. She asks if it will register her skill. Ryulia looks at her. Lundite says that she is ready, as a capable adventurer, to summon her skill that will bring her so much grief. Ryuya intervenes and asks what if she doesn't show it. She replies that it's impossible, especially the skill. She says it must be hard for a girl, but it still has to be done. Nuim screams that she will do it. She confidently states that since she will be an adventurer together with Mr. Ryu, she has no shadow of a doubt. Lundite says that's a good answer. She holds out a card and says to use it. She draws blood. The characteristic is shown. She is at level 1. She has the skill of the king of alchemy, so her suitable job is an alchemist. Ryuya asks what the king means. She quickly flips through the book and tries to find the list. Then she says that she thought so, that it was the highest level of alchemy. The girl does not understand this. Lunda even screams that this is a top-class crafting skill, including a mixer, a blacksmith, and a mechanic. Yes, with only one alchemist, the price of the city will skyrocket. She screams that this is crazy cool, and that this is a real walking industrial revolution. Nuon tells Ryuda that she thought the skill was unusual, and he is surprised by Lundate's reaction. Lundite says that it turns out that everyone in her homeland went into a frenzy. She is like a golden egg, because when such a skill appears, everyone will lose their heads. Noam screams that she only wants to be with Mr. Ryuya, and that she only trusts him. Ryuya also learned the feeling of mistrust towards others. The trust and human relations built up until now were destroyed due to the skill he received. Since he can do it, he wants to help her. He tells Noam that he heard everything. She smiles at him in return. Various people started saying that since she had such a cool skill, she should join them, and with Mr. Mashao, the owner of the Ghost Hand skill, they would become B-rank friends. They add that if you look after her, she is also a cutie. You can create phantoms both during the day and at night. You couldn't wish for anything better. Ryuya defends her and tells her to get out of here because she wants to be in his company, so there's nothing more to say. They start yelling at him to shut up, calling him a worthless piece of trash and not to dare show off in front of these ghostly hands. Here, Lundite, as legitimate self-defense. 40 minutes later, southeast of the city on the plain of Courant, Lundite says that she has fallen in love with him again and thinks he gave them a hard time. Ryuya says he did him wrong. Noam says it was unbelievable. Lundite tells him not to worry because that rot will be finished off someday. She says that something else is important, and that they are starting training new recruits, collecting medicinal plants. No one reacts. She screams that she can't hear them and asks just as loudly if they want to collect herbs. The two scream that they do. Lundite tells Noam, calling her a pink baby, that their mother just gave birth to. That cooing is also something good. She asks her to repeat it. Noam coos. Lundite yells at Ryuya, asking if he's happy. She's going to pound all the intricacies of being an adventurer into them, with no time to breathe. He yells that he's happy. She tells both of them that if they weaken, she will stuff them with black algae, reminiscent of the waste in their bodies. Thus begins the training. A few minutes later, Wandite says that even someone who is skilled can put 10 of the wrong thing in one basket, and that this is the thing, the time limit. Ryuya tells her that he is done. She looks at him and says that everything is correct and does not understand how he did it. He replies that he trained in the mountains. Lundite calls him a wild child. No one comes and says that she is also finished. She is surprised. She looks and says that this is a medicinal herb of the highest category. Where does she get it? It's just a plague. Ryuyo asks the girl if it is really thanks to her skill that the king of alchemy. She says that she doesn't know, because such a thing did not grow here, it just caught her eye. She tells Ryu that he is so awesome that he can do everything even without skills, and that she respects him. He awkwardly says that she is exaggerating. Lundite asks for attention and says that the herb collection ended surprisingly quickly, so they happily ask if they can leave early. She says that they will be inspecting the territory. There is a territory on this plain that cannot be stepped on. She says that the place where they are going now, during the training period she planned to explore with them once, and they will be adventurers, so she must remember. Ryua notices that Lady Lundite is trembling, and there is this faint mist in front of them. He realizes that something extraordinary is definitely waiting for them ahead. Lundite tells them that if they get lost by mistake, they can say goodbye to their lives. The Adventurers Guild of the Centikilian Kingdom has designated a forbidden area that must not be entered under any circumstances. It's called the Zone of Evil Spirits. What is the name of the one who is waiting for them? Lundite says that the clergy also puts up a barrier and defends itself as best it can. Half of the territory has been taken over by evil spirits. If you accidentally enter here, it will end with them simply driving you to death. They are entering a forbidden territory that should never be entered. Lundite is asked if it is true that they are now outside the barrier. Lundite says that now is the perfect opportunity to show them his skill. hearing enhancement. With this power, even a whisper heard in the distance can be clearly heard. Even with a disembodied spirit that does not create any sounds, something will come out. Ryuya says that it's a surprisingly passive skill. Nuum asks why it's not an aggressive ability. She is indignant that why is that, it's a skill. She says that with his help she has saved herself from certain death more than once or twice. Adventurers know how to avoid danger. Noam tells her that's why she's the guildmaster. Suddenly, Mondai asks her to be quiet, and that she hears something. Someone is flying straight towards them. A dark monster. Ryuya assumes she hears it. They scream in panic. Mondai says it's Legion, and that they need to run. Both run away, shouting that this is a representative of the most sinister class, and that no physical attacks work on him. Noam herself notices this. Then Londite, calling him stupid, asks what he's even doing. He needs to run faster. Ryuya turns around and tells Londite that he trusts her with Noam because he has an idea. The girls scream his name as they see the monster flying straight towards him. The next second, the monster explodes and disappears. The girls look at this in shock. Evil spirits sucked a life force out of a person, as he thought. He was wiped off the face of the earth when he used his incredible thing, one might say, technique, at once. The girls praise him and say that physics doesn't work on him. Londite asks if he really does have some kind of skill, but more importantly for Ryu, it seems the real situation is more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. He tells Londite that he is coming. She does not understand him. Ryuya says that if he continues to drive out evil spirits in this manner, there will not be a single one left on this plane. Londite asks if he's serious. It'll take 2-3 days to cross this plane. He says they'll be walking through the miasma. 35 minutes later, they see a castle in the middle of the miasma. Londite wonders how it's possible that the castle is in the fog. Ryuya wonders why they followed him together. She replies that it's just the guildmaster's personality. Noon tells him that she doesn't want to part with him, and that she will always be there. They shout to Ryu again that there are legions there. He deals with them easily. In the interior of the castle, in the throne room, which is on the top floor, Ryuya easily breaks down the walls. Some people say that people don't often come to visit her. Ryuya asks her if she is the boss of the evil spirits that fill this plane. Londite and Nuum hide behind a wall and say that it is some pale person. This opponent says that putting it on the same level with all kinds of perfumes is unceremonious and rude for her. She claims that she is one of the supreme beings that rule this world. She is one of the 18 devilish spirits. Her name is Abony. Ryuya asks her if she could disappear from these places. She grumbles, "How awful." Ryuya says that the local evil spirits appeared because of her. She replies that she has no idea. Apparently, they just got attracted to her miasma. He says that's why it's such a nuisance to everyone in the area. If she could find shelter somewhere else, as far away from the city as possible, that would be the best option. Norm agrees. Ryuyu says that since she's a higher being, he thinks it's within her capabilities. She replies that it is not so, and that she liked it here. That is why she settled here. She asks, do they, people, do the same thing? Ryuya replies that maybe so, but they don't live as long as she does, and don't have as much power as she does. If she is wise, then maybe she will calm her divine arrogance and give in to them. Ambinian says that since we are talking about arrogance, this is what she will say. According to the rule, which has not been broken by anyone since ancient times, the weak obey the strong. She says that the weak surrender with cries, fall prostrate in the blink of an eye, and beg for supreme mercy. Otherwise, death awaits them. That's the only way. Ryuyo says that negotiations also have their limits. Then, if he is stronger than her, then she will submit to him. Ambinian sternly asks if he understands the situation he is in. She says that this ignorance, and even such vanity, deserves certain death. She will kill him slowly. He will feel the torments of hell. Both girls panic and say that Mr. Ryua wants to fight the boss of the evil spirits. Let everyone say what they want, but this is a completely different level. This is what the intuition of an adventurer with more than 10 years of experience says. Suddenly, Ambinian addresses them, and they become frightened. She points her finger and tells them not to worry, because she will spare them and let them return to the city. They don't understand her. The boss says that in return, they will spread the word around about the tragic death this guy died. They will be singers warning others. Here, Ryuya says that he had no doubt that she would not leave anyone alive, so she is kind. The boss says it's an efficiency problem, but he doesn't know what he's getting himself into, so that'll be enough. Ryuya says that she still leaves two alive, so there are good feelings in her judgments, and that she is even liked a little. Suddenly, she starts to blush, and then screams, "What is he doing again? Even if he flatters her, nothing will come of it, and that it is useless." Ryuya says that this is why he will not take her life until she completely surrenders. She says that it is still unpleasant. She screams that no one gave a damn about her. Ryuya irritates her even more with his words. She screams that before she dies, she will give him a lecture about the structure of this world. She tells the girls that they will listen to. She tells them to listen here. There are 3 types of higher beings on Earth. In truth, she is the top type. She is a devil spirit, and there are only 18 of them in the world. Ryuya raises his hand and reminds her that she already said this when she introduced herself. She yells in irritation that he doesn't know yet. She shows the records where it is said that the maximum level for people is 99. She says that you can train as much as you want, but people's level does not go beyond 99. She says, "What a pity." Ryuya asks her, "Based on this, how are they doing with this?" She is happy and says that it is a good question. She replies that, to make them even more desperate, she will dare to tear off the leaves one by one. She draws that the demon race reaches up to level 999, devils a maximum of 999, and devil spirits 9999. She confidently and proudly tells them that her level is 59,845. Gnome is shocked that she has a level above 10,000. Londite says that there is no way a human could compete with that, and that their city is finished. Umbinian says that this is the reaction she expected. She turns to Ryuya and asks how he is. If he realized his dwarfism, he says no. He uses his power so that Umbinian herself closes herself off from the light and screams, "What kind of amazing life energy this is." She feels that her body, the body of the devilish spirit, is evaporating. Lundite says that she's pale. Did it really work? Ryuya thinks to herself that she's basically the same as the evil spirits, and she'll be neutralized if she's hit with life force. Ambinian says that this can't be. She doesn't see this guy's information. In other words, his level. Ryuya says it's because his level is 8,347,917. She is shocked. The girls also look at her in bewilderment and ask what he said. He repeats that he has 8 million. Here, the boss falls to his knees and screams that she surrenders, and that she was stupid. She didn't know what she was getting herself into, so she begs for mercy, at least for her life. Ryuya asks her if she believes him, and she replies that of course she does. She calls him Majesty and says that the way his power surpasses hers is bone-chilling. She continues to say that she humbly apologizes to him for disturbing her, but he does not happen to be familiar with something like a huge snake or some natural phenomenon. He asks if she is talking about the dragon snake. She is surprised and asks if they are carelessly breaking the rules of the universe and leaving. Ryuya asks what this means. She says that recently, she said that there are 3 types of higher beings on Earth. But besides that, there are beings beyond this world, which are called 8 snakes dragons, 4 dimensions, 2 poles. They live in an inaccessible space. Once every few hundred years, they suddenly come and have such an impact that the world turns upside down. Ryuya thinks to himself that he understands. She says that by other powers calling him Majesty, that he was chosen by the dragon serpent, she humbly asks to forgive the rudeness she showed, so that she will do whatever is necessary. Ryuya says that then she should die. She immediately twitches. Ryuya asks if he was scared because he was just joking, and so peace came to the plane, and on the way back he was bombarded with questions. Lundite says he has such an incredibly high level, so he will have to believe, and Noam says that she thought so, that he is an amazing person. For such a strong personality as he, skill is not important, unlike her. After all, they twist her as they want. That's not so. Ryu was quite bothered by the despair and inferiority complex of a skillless person. He was even envious, and the impetus for training was frustration. Ryuya says that even now she considers herself a talentless person. He just became stronger, and his capabilities are probably limited. So now he will often rely on those who have a great skill. Like her. He asks if she will help him at such a moment. She smiles broadly and says that she will be happy to help and thanks him, saying that he has exceptional personal qualities. Ryuya sees the evil spirit boss and asks if she is still here. Isn't she moving out of here on orders? She says that she even removed the castle already. Lendate says that it really disappeared. Ambinian says that it's because the Phantom Castle is made from a part of her. Ryuya thinks to herself that she seems cool after all. He tells her not to bother her anymore. Ambinian flies with him. At some point they look back at her. She shouts that she intends to be with His Majesty everywhere. He says to look at their faces. That is, the girls. She asks if there are any problems. They say that they know nothing about these intentions. Ambinian says that evil spirits will come to them, won't they? If you turn off the tap, then everything is solved. Everything, so she won the argument. They begin to arise about her appearance. Ambinian says that due to the tuning of miasma, she can be in free flight, being in the range from white to transparent. They ask questions, but she doesn't seem to hear them. She suggests that they all return to the city in triumph. Ryuya thinks that the source of their problems is saying something else. Ryuya keeps wondering what kind of triumphant return, unexpected turn of events, or whatever you might call it. Ambinion says that since an oath has been made between master and servant, she must give him something. He looks up, and she approaches him. Nuem closes her eyes, and Lundite screams what the hell she's doing. Ryuya doesn't understand. She's a ghost after all. Is it really possible to touch her anyway? Ambinion says that they are now spiritually connected and can share some of each other's sensations. She tells him to look at the girls. It is impossible to see through an opponent stronger than himself, but in his case, everyone is completely revealed to him. He really sees the characteristics, the skill, of Gnome the King of Alchemists gives the opportunity to carry out works on alchemy, metallurgy, mixing. In addition, it improves to the maximum all sorts of effects related to alchemy. Hearing enhancement Londite improves hearing and may temporarily improve further with concentration. Ryuya says that he really does see all the parameters. Something different. The two get scared and say that it's cool, but something is scary. Ambinion tells him that she shared with him without any doubt. He only told those girls. This is her modest help. Something that cannot be accomplished with muscles alone. She asks with a pitiful face if he can't accept it from the one who brings trouble. Ryuya ponders. Ryuya asks if it's fair for a devil spirit to have a face like that. She says that she's even on the rise. It's been a long time since a person called her beautiful. So, from the very first day after registering as an adventurer, they worked heroically. They returned to the city in triumph. A fat man comes out in front of him. Someone complains to him about Ryu. Londite recognizes him as Dojizu. Ryuya immediately sees his characteristics. She is at level 24. He has a solid fist of total destruction, which when touched with a fist, an explosion effect occurs, causing additional damage to the enemy. He asks Ryu if it is true that he has no skill in weapons. Ryuya looks at him and wonders who he even is. Dachizu says that he was kind to his younger brother Bari. He will answer for it. This Bari asks him to kill Ryu. He screams he is finished, and that now they will arrange a phantom revenge on him with the whole faction of his brother. His little brother is covered in bandages and plasters, has broken limbs, and is annoying his older brother. Dajizu hits the younger boy and tells him to shut up. He points his finger at Ryu and says he'll deal with him first, and then he tells Londite that she has been an eyesore to him for a long time, so from today on, he is the master, and she serves him, and he will find a use for this girl. That is, Nuem. They return to the city in triumph. Suddenly, the enemy feels something strange in the body. It is an energetic drainage. Ambinion says that it is impossible to listen to this. It is so rude, he asks permission from Ryuyo if she can teach a lesson to these bad people. Ryuyo refuses and says that this is his personal fight. Dojizu is already lying on the floor, all sweaty and shaking. He doesn't understand what's going on. He sees Ambainon. The case was eventually closed, and the Adventurers Guild was then cleared of troublemakers. Nuem and Lundite, as always, are watching the situation from the sidelines. The next day at the Adventurers Guild, Lundite says she wants them to take a dungeon quest. She tells them they are in a difficult situation. They don't understand. Londite says that, first of all, she should thank them. They cleared the plains for herb gathering and cleaned up after Dolgiza and his company. Ryu says that it's nothing special. Lundite tells him that she raised their guild rank, so let them look at the map. Ryua says that they went up 2 ranks. Umbinian says that's not bad. Lundite apologizes to Noom because she hasn't leveled it up yet. But with her skill, she can easily level it up to C or B rank. She waves her hands in panic and says that everything is fine because Mr. Ryu contributed more than she did. Umbinian is touched by her, saying that she is adorable and how modest she is. Londite tells the boys that they are going beyond the pale. They are rapidly rising in rank, and she is helping, which is why she said that they are in a difficult situation. Ryule asks what the problem is, and Binyan says that it's even more of a problem, because their abilities. Londite interrupts her and shouts that this is true, and the powers that be will not leave them alone. They will either want to accept them or crush them. The guild cannot protect ranks from F to D. Ambinine says that the church, the royal palace, the Academy of Magic, and other organizations, the list of those who would want to use them can be continued endlessly. If they don't want to be used, they'll have to show some character. All Ryu has is his hands. But if he uses them seriously, he could start a war. Immense power is not evil in itself, but it cannot be used only for one's own benefit. He can use it to bring peace. In the background, Lundite tells Ambinian that she knows a lot, and she brags. Suddenly, Ryuja says that he understands. They need to complete as many tasks as possible so they can raise their ranks. Lundite says she will write a letter of recommendation in her own name just in case. 43 minutes later, they find themselves in the kingdom of Centakillion at the gates of the dungeon. Nuem and Ryuya are surprised that they are huge. Dungeon guide Kamidanchiski tells them that it is not allowed, so they should leave. She says he's level 17 D rank and has no skill. Is he really that stupid or blind? She scolds him and asks what they're even thinking about in their adventurers guild. He says they have a letter of recommendation. She yells for him to give her the letter. Nuem says in the background that she's scaring her. She reads the letter and says that her eyes do not deceive her. The letter says that these two are strong, so everything is fine. She says that her sister wrote it, and she did not believe it. In the dungeon itself, Noam calls out to Ryu in fear. He says to himself that, as he thought, Noam is only level 3, so the dungeon scares her. He tells her to stay close to him. She says that's not the point. She was thinking about the materials specified in the request. He looks and asks if it's true. She confirms. The guide curses and tells them to stop discussing anything because this is not an attraction for couples in love, and that she will leave them here now. Ryuya asks her if people with strong skills are given more opportunities in the dungeon, and she replies that of course they are. She says that it is unfair, no matter how hard a person tries. A strong skill decides everything. There is nothing to be done about it. Those who have a strong skill live much richer than others, so it is easier to raise the level. Ryuya thinks to himself that the lady is right. He is sure that many people who are unlucky would agree with her. She says that they have come and that here they can get the root. Their first goal is to find the miscanthus root. Nuem says it's weird that it only grows there. She says she's going to go pick it. A woman stops her and says there's a trap. She says that the root is the body of this monster, and when a living creature enters its territory, it entangles the victim and sucks all the blood out of it. She says that an effective way would be an ability that can hit and penetrate the ground and deal damage, or set everything on fire with a fire skill. Ryuya picks something up and asks if this is what they are looking for. The woman replies that it is, but when he senses danger, he must try to escape. Ryuya says that is why he quickly pulled it out. The woman says she doesn't realize that this one is bigger than the usual miscanthus roots. It's the first time she's seen one that's giant. Nam reports that it is miscanthus dragon root and a chance of getting it is less than 1%. Ryuyo asks her again if she knows about him, and she replies that she thinks so. Item appraisal is one of the features of the Alchemy Lord's skill. Since she went with it, the quality of the ingredients found is improved, as was the case in the tutorial quest. Their second objective is to find the horn of Chi-Chi. This monster roars at them. The woman says with concern that this monster pierces steel armor as if it were a piece of paper. Ryu, removing the horns from the monster, says, "Is this really so? She is shocked and says that this is also something amazing. She has never seen anything like this. Ruya asks Noam what it is. She replies that it is the best material not only for making armor, but also as an alchemical ingredient, the Chi-Chi blade. The woman asks if this is another rare drop. She confidently replies that it is. They praise the Lord of Alchemy. Ryuya says that it turns out that this ingredient is rarer than what they were looking for, and then adds that it's the last one left. The guide sternly tells them not to dig in because everything is fine. She asks them if it is true that only red sand remains. She tells them that it is much more dangerous than the ones they encountered. Ryuya asks her to take them to him and that they rely on her. She only tells them that they should not say later that she did not warn them. Red sand is a soft, high-quality mineral that can be used to make medicine. But when exposed to air, it disintegrates into various compounds and mercury. To protect itself, it attacks any living creature that comes near it. It is also called a mercury slug. Ryuya wonders if this means he's liquid, and worries about how they'll drag him to the guild. The guide stops and says he's somewhere around here. Then a monster suddenly emerges. The guide screams in panic that it really did emerge, and that there are a lot of it. Ryuya asks how to defeat him. She replies in fear that she has no idea. He is immune to physical attacks and also poisonous, probably with some skill. No matter how strong the poison is, it won't affect Ryuya, which means he has a plan. Ryuya tells Noam that he will dive. She understands and obeys him. Ryuya dives right into the liquid. The guide screams in horror. Did he even listen to her? He will die like this. After 2 minutes, she freezes and asks if the mercury has stopped moving. Ryuya comes out of the liquid. He shows some kind of ball and asks if it is a core. She screams that it is. She asks how he survived it all. Noam comes up to them with a glass of water and says that mercury poison accumulates in the body. She made an antidote. The guide, shocked, asks when she managed to do that. Ryuya thanks her but says he's fine. Noam asks him not to lie to her and to just drink it. He says he's not lying. The guide still doesn't understand what's wrong with this guy. Here she hears a voice that tells them not to just stand there. It is Ambinian who says that if nothing is done, the core will melt and disappear. She asks to give it to her. She says that her body is separated from the outside world, and there is no air, not even oxygen. Ryu asks if they are going back. Noam agrees and says that as expected of him, he did it so easily. They ask him if he can pull it back out later. He says that it will be a bit of a bummer. The guide remains where he is, watching them go. Although he has no ability, he is strong. She underestimated him, which she admits. She is sure that he will be very happy to receive 3 rare materials. He still found one good person. She runs after them and asks them to wait for her, not to leave her alone. A week later, at the Adventurers Guild, Londite says that they are too fast. Are they finished already? She angrily asks what she should do with them. She decides to introduce them to the head of the Artisans Guild, Sanjui. They meet. Ryuya asks Lundite what a Craftsman's Guild is. Sanjui sees what they got and asks if this is the quest that requires such rare materials, even though it takes several years for adventurers with a high rank to collect all of them. Lundite says that the quest is not finished yet, so he asks to sit down and explains. Ryuya wonders to himself why the representative of the craftsmen is here. They are asked, which means they have something to make from these materials. Noam says that painkiller, tonic, and red sand are the 3 main ingredients for the potion. Ryuya doesn't understand and asks. Londite says that it is a very strong version of a normal potion. They say that it can even restore lost limbs and blood. The customer of this quest is the Royal Palace, together with the Guild of Craftsmen. It is necessary to collect materials, make and deliver at least 10 bottles to the Royal Palace. Even the best doctors and alchemists cannot fulfill such an absurd order. Sonchue says that it seems like the war with the demons in the northeast isn't going well. Such a potion might be made by someone with high alchemy skill, but his guild doesn't have one. If there was such a person somewhere in the kingdom, he would be worth his weight in gold. So when someone receives such a skill during the blessing ceremony, he is hunted. Ryuya looks at Noam. Sanjue says that he will have to call off this mission. He is sorry, of course. They will lose a lot of money. Suddenly, Noam asks to wait, and then says that she will make these potions. Sanjue is surprised. He angrily asks who she is, what she's talking about. She says she has the skill of an alchemy lord. He is shocked. She says she knows how to make them, so he can rely on her. She takes the ingredients, and he freezes in shock. Sonjui yells at Lundai that she had someone like that in the guild. So why didn't she tell him earlier? Lundai calmly tells him that he can rely on her. She says that it seems like she decided to use her skill on her own accord. She guesses that it's because of Ryu. A week later, Nuam says she's finished and made 300 bottles of the potion. The three of them are shocked and ask if it's really that many. The next day, Sonjui speaks to Noam, begging her to join the Artisans Guild. Ryuya thinks to herself, this is how it all turned out. Sonjui says this place is not suitable for her. He argues that an alchemist is a highly respected profession, especially if she is the master of alchemy. He promises her better conditions and untold riches, so let her join. Noam confidently says that she refuses, but he doesn't calm down and keeps asking. She smiles and says that if there's any order, she will be ready to fulfill it. Ryuya thinks that it seems like she has become more confident. If the quest helped her grow, then it wasn't useless. Sun Shui says that he is not going to give up, by the way. He has one more request. He says that it is no secret that the amount of potions was much more than what the royal palace ordered. For a job well done, she definitely deserves praise. Some time later, in the royal palace of Sensakilian, in front of the throne room, Ryuya and Noam say that the king is waiting for them here. The Sensakilian king, Leonard Friedrich Elric Sol VIII, says that they have done a great job. Their potions will definitely save their country. They thank him. The king says that he understands how difficult this task was. He did not think that anyone would be able to complete it. It is a great feat for such young adventurers. He would like to reward them with a worthy reward. Noam says that they were just doing the best they could. Ryuya thinks with displeasure. If he understood all of this, he still gave out this quest. Are there really circumstances that force one to give out such quests? The king holds out the Order of the Green Spirit and asks her to accept it first. He asks to let her be appointed as the royal alchemist. With full pay, of course. She will not be able to accept requests from other kingdoms, but they will pay as much as she wants and give her whatever she wants. Noam shouts at him to listen to her. He falls silent. The servant shouts, how rude this is. She wants him to understand that these potions required very rare materials, and she wants them to reward whoever collected them alone. She screams that it was Mr. Ryuya who did this. The king asks if this is true. She says with a smile that it is the purest. He asks if he was involved in this too. Is he really a craftsman too? Ryuya thinks to himself that she just didn't want to go without him. He tells the king that he is like her guardian. They ask him what he means by that. He tells the king everything. The king repeats the information he received, that he saved her from the merchant and also collected all the materials on his own. He specifies his name. He looks and says that he must be a very talented person, asks what skill he has. Ryuya notices that his eye color has changed and replies that he has no skill. He asks if he is lying to the king, who, with a stony face, replies that he is telling the truth. The king shouts that he will believe it. There are people in the world who hide their skills in order not to suffer, but in front of him is the king, and he must use all the human resources of the kingdom. It is a sin to hide your skill from the king. Ryuya calmly asks if he needs to show the guild card, and he insistently says to show it. The king looks at the card and says he can't believe it. This is the first time he's met a man without skill. Royal Minister Hussein Kamiyal turns to the king and says that he is probably lying because he could not have achieved all this without the skill. In his opinion, he is trying to gain his trust. He suggests that they only pay attention to the girl with alchemy skill. Since he doesn't have the skill, Ryuya is useless. Nuam says that since he is driving away Mr. Rui, she is leaving too. The minister and the king remain in shock. The minister smiles and says that they are doing this for her sake. Such a chosen young lady should not stand next to useless trash with no skill. People like him are worthless in his opinion. Noam sticks out her tongue and says that Mr. Rhea is her savior, and she doesn't want to hear anything from someone who says nasty things about him. The minister says, how rude. Ambanian appears and tells Noam that it was well said. She tells the minister and the king to read tirades of praise to her master, otherwise they may suffer. At first she decided to destroy the whole kingdom. but perhaps she will limit herself to this court. The minister screams in horror, asking who this pale woman is. The king gets scared. Ambinion asks Rui for permission. He panics and says no. The minister orders to take the ghost. The guards quickly go to them. Forward comes forward and tells everyone to stand still and that they don't want to fight. Ambinion calls them small fish and that hundreds of thousands of them are no match for her. The king asks Ryu if he has a servant. He replies that he met her and she ends by saying that she fell in love with him. Ambinion informs them that she is the mistress of all evil spirits living on earth. They must call her Courant, and she serves his majesty. That is, Ryuya. They ask in shock if he really subdued a walking disaster, and he wearily replies that it just happened that way. The king says that if this is true, then his achievements are even greater. The minister interrupts and tells him not to let them deceive him. He says that this ghost woman is just trying to deceive him and that she is in cahoots with Ryuja with Wash skill. Let him think for himself whether he is capable of defeating such a monster. Ambinion calls the minister bald and asks if his head is completely empty. Nuem and Ryuya are shocked that she said it outright. Ambinion says that, unlike them, she is able to see the power of his majesty. He trained under a great dragon and has a level above 8 million. The king opens his mouth in shock as soon as he hears the level. The minister smugly says that now everything is clear, and that it is just a big number that only a child could come up with. Ambinion approaches him and says that a foolish person like him who only thinks in terms of human knowledge is truly pathetic. She slaps her palm on his bald head and says that he received power from a great dragon whose level has reached 10 million. Then Ambinion flies and says that it is good that she enlightened these stupid people. Nuem tells her that she is a good girl, and she even more joyfully asks to praise her. The king orders the Slaitza to be summoned. The minister is surprised. The king says that if he really has such a high level, then he is even more interested in him. He expresses a desire to see his strength with his own eyes. He tells the story of Sledza, from a noble family who wants to serve his country faithfully and truly, and will soon become a general. He asks if he would mind fighting him one-on-one, and he confidently accepts his challenge. The knight of Sledza comes out in armor and asks if his opponent is really an adventurer. What kind of nonsense is this at such a time? Ryuya thinks to himself that he can look at his opponent's stats. This knight is a female, 21 years old. She is level 31. She can attack with the holy attribute. Strength increases by 20% for each subordinate under his command. Ryuya thinks she's in her early 20s and already level 31, so that's not bad. Then he points out that she's a woman. The knight says she's not sure if he knows, but she doesn't use her skill in combat because it's too dangerous. Ryuya says that increasing strength by 20% for each subordinate is a powerful skill. She asks in shock if he really has the skill of assessment. He replies that he doesn't have the skill at all. The knight says that this is nonsense, but it is obvious to her that he is not so simple. She says that he is right. Her skill becomes stronger as the number of her subordinates increases. She currently has around 100 people under her command, and they count even when they are not in battle with her. She concludes that, in other words, her attack power is now increased by 20 times. Ryuya says that he is impressed. The knight swings and says that he can easily kill him with one blow of monstrous force. Now he must understand that it is stupid to use him in a normal sparring. Ryuya says that it's okay, so let him use it, because the king wants to see his strength. If she doesn't hit with all her strength, he will be disappointed. The knight says he's beginning to think he's trying to insult her. She says she'll do as he pleases, so he should try not to die. She strikes. However, Ryu stops her huge weapon with one bare hand. All the other knights shout that it is impossible to stop it with one hand, because this blow easily cuts through steel. Others say that he seems to have no skill. How is it possible without a strong defensive skill? The girls stand and watch in delight and pride. The knight begins to tremble and wonders how this is possible. Ryuya replies that he simply shifted his body weight. That's all. He lets go of the sword. The knight flies back and screams that it was impossible and that he could have counterattacked and won. He asks if he could hit a woman. The knight stands in shock and asks if she is a woman. Ryuya doesn't understand her either and asks if she isn't. Suddenly the king stops the fight, shouting that it is enough. He says that he has proven his strength. He admits that his words are true. Ambinion keeps shouting that of course it is true because the Lord is the strongest. The king starts saying that therefore he has made a decision. The minister wants to object, but the king stops him. He turns to Ryuya and asks if he is capable of doing the impossible again. He asks him to go with Laselda to the northeast and join the war. He even bows his head to him. Their enemies are demons. He asks him to save their kingdom, because it is the hero's duty to confront the threat. There are more than 72 types of demons in the world. They are classified according to their strength, from soldier class to demon king. Their maximum level is 999. Demons of soldier or knight rank are within the power of humans to defeat, but high-ranked demons cannot be defeated by humans. The swamp-skinned demon says that he can't wait any longer, and that it's time to revel in the cries of humans once again. Countless demons threaten humanity. Only by uniting can they fight back. Ryuya will challenge the demons to a decisive battle. All it takes to win is a fist. No skill required, but no less powerful. A few hours later, in the northeast of Centakilia, on the front line, the knight sees the victims and says that this cannot be, and that it was a real massacre. Terrible. It was said that there were 6,000 men on the front line, plus another 1,000 on the last line of defense. But things don't seem to be going well. The knight approaches the general and asks if it is him. He asks, because the potion should have been delivered already, shouldn't it? The senior commander says that it was delivered. However, the assistant to the senior commander is standing next to him. He finishes his thought and says that everything has already been used up. The knight is shocked. The senior commander says that the demons' attack suddenly became much more violent. Their forces were insufficient, so they had to use up all the potions. He asks for forgiveness for this. Ryuya thinks to herself that they are still in such a sorry state. The knight trembles and says that this is such a bloodbath. She screams to stop. She says that she will personally cut off this demon's hand. Binyan asks her if she knows that he can easily grow it back. Did she really not know? Then Noam runs up and tells them to get out of the way, to disperse. She starts treating the wounded. Noam tells Ambinian to get everything. She says that she understands. Noam says that she will prepare the potions first. She says that there are a lot of materials and all sorts of tools that she received from the king. So now she will prepare more potions. The senior commander is shocked. She confidently says that she can do it, because she is the master of alchemy. All the knights and soldiers look at her with surprise and admiration at the same time. Noam asks if everyone heard her. She orders the potions to be given to the most wounded first. They thank her, saying that she saved them. Despair has been replaced by hope. They are shouting to treat the seriously wounded first. Even those who are dying can be saved. Light has shone in the eyes of the wounded. Ambinian says that Noam is a brave girl. Since she has the courage to use it as an item storage, it reminds her of someone. Ryuya says that Londite said the same thing. Ryuza stands and thinks that he also wants to help somehow. He turns to Ambinian and says, she can draw out energy, but can she do it the other way around? The wounded look and wonder what this fog is. They give in to the energy. The doctors shout that the wounded is getting better. They wonder if it is really healing. Ambinian releases his life force, so their regeneration should increase. Ryuya in her arms asks if it is necessary to carry him in her arms. She answers that there is no other way. Their first task is to cure everyone so he can keep the number of deaths to a minimum. An hour later, they are thanked and told that without their help, thousands of people would have died. The knight bows to them and says that this is an amazing feat. She guarantees that the rumor will reach His Majesty. She takes off her helmet, causing all the knights to stand in shock and ask if she is sure she is worth it. Ambinian says she thought she kept her helmet on because she looked bad, but let them just look at this beauty. The knight tells everyone that they saved many soldiers. It is rude to thank them without taking off her helmet. She should show them due respect, and she made that decision. The knight asks the soldier what the demons' movements are, and she is told that they are retreating, that they seem to be playing with them, but will surely attack again. She says, are they laughing at them? She tells the general that the king's order was given. They open the paper and are surprised. The knight says that she has finally been given full command. From now on, she is the commander-in-chief. He tells Ryuya that he still remembers what kind of skill she has. He thinks to himself, because her skill is Sese Hitokuzane, its power increases by 20% for each subordinate. In addition, her skill has no power limit. The knight says that all 7,000 soldiers will become her strength. This is their trump card in this war. The senior commander says to wait. because it is not that simple. Will her body withstand it? He says that if there are 7,000 soldiers, the power will increase. He shuts up. His son suggests that the power will increase 1,400 times. He agrees and says that skills can have consequences when used, and at the moment of impact, her body may simply not be able to withstand it. She says she is ready for it. Oh, he is a knight, and a knight devotes himself entirely to the defense of the kingdom. If there is an opportunity to dispel the threat facing the kingdom, then it is not a pity to give his life. The fine procession is still hers. She can only use it in a critical situation. Besides, Ryuya and gnomes saved so many people. She declares that she will not let them die here. Ryuya thinks to herself that this is why she wants to put herself in danger. The knight says that when the battle begins, they must find a safe place to avoid her attack. They will only have one try. Everyone is scared. The senior commander, in tears, says what determination she has. The other soldiers also cry and say that she is ready to do this for them, for the kingdom. Ryuya raises his hand, asking for forgiveness. He says that he, of course, has nothing against her strategy, but he may not participate in it. The knight tells him that he has already saved so many lives, so that is enough. Then Ryuya says that he will go there. They don't understand and ask what he means by this. Ryuya stands behind the knight. She asks if he is sure, if he really thinks it will work. Ryuya replies that this way she can use her skill, and he will take all the brunt. She says, that means he is sure. The senior commander asks what is going on here and that it looks strange. The soldier says that it is Mr. Ryuya. It must be something important. The other agrees with him. The knight asks again if he is sure he can handle it. What if it is too much for his body? Ryuya says that he thinks it would be a good idea to give his life to save a beautiful girl. She asks angrily and discontentedly what this means. He says not to pay attention. She says that she understood him, so she does not pay attention to him. Ryuya says that he just wanted to support her, and not just him. That sword has the determination of 7,000 of her soldiers. They entrusted their lives to her skill. Only in this way can they make her stronger. In this battle, they will not suffer losses. Her skill will give them victory. Ryuya says that she must play the main role. The king asked him to. He remembers how the king gave her an envelope, asking her not to tell him a word. He wrote it in secret from her. The knight gets distracted and asks about the king. Ryuya says that they are coming because the ground is shaking from their stomping. A huge army of demons is approaching them. They are surprised. Abenian from above says that there are about 30,000 of them. The chief demon laughs and says that while they are dying like flies, he was gathering a giant army. He shouts to show them how they will flutter as they die and laughs again. The knight says, these are what demons are like. Ryuya asks why he has such an annoying voice, and he again yells at them that they are pathetic insects. The chief demon is called by Bunyan. He introduces himself. His rank is Viscount of Demons. Abenian says disappointedly that it is only a Viscount. Ryuya says that for humans, it is indeed a strong opponent, as expected from a devil spirit. Ryuya says that he doesn't care much about it then. He tells Laseds that the targets are changing. They are attacking the leader. She asks if he is sure. Abignon tells him it is a wise decision. They will kill him first. The rest will run away. They will lead him out of the mountain, and that's it. Avignon says, what a devilish spirit. More like an ordinary ghost. The knight begins to doubt. Her sword begins to glow. She says that they will only have one chance. What if she... Ryuya tells her that she will endure. He says that he is right there. The knight swallows with excitement. Ryuya gives the command. The knight shouts that let it be. Whatever will be. They attack the army. There is a huge explosion. Everything glows very brightly. The demons are shocked by what is happening. The soldiers are shocked and say that it was an explosion. As expected from the lady, they praise Laslesda. The knight herself is coughing and lying in agony. Ryuya asks her if she is alive. She replies that there was such a recoil, but they hit the main part of their army, so her whole body hurts, but she does not have enough strength for a second time. Ryuya says that it's normal. The knight opens his eyes. Ryuya calls Noam. She runs and gives her that very potion and tells her to drink it to the bottom, so much so that she chokes. The knight stands up and is surprised that she is completely healed. Noam takes out a box and says that she has many more. Ryuya pulls her by the hand and tells her to prepare for the second blow. She stands up in surprise. She panics and tells him to stand still and wait, and says that even if all her broken bones mend and her wounds heal, it still hurts to use the skill over and over again. Ryuya sternly tells her to prepare for the second strike again, which she says he completely ignored. She gets up, braces herself, and throws a punch. Then she falls down again, screaming again about how much it hurts. The potion is poured into her mouth again. She swallows it quickly. Ryuya says that it is excellent, so let him strike a third time. She strikes again, then falls down, is given a potion, then gets up again, strikes again, drinks the potion, and so on, and again. Ambinian says that she could wipe out those 30,000 demons in one fell swoop, so why bother? Ryuya asks again, why bother? He replies that it was because this was a human battle, not hers. But it was the kingdom's army that had to rally and repel the demonic threat, and her skill allowed it to do so. Someone raises their hand. Ryuya starts to say that they are done here. The demon viscount stands up and asks angrily what that skill was. Ryuya says that the survivor got out. The demon calls them vile people. Their skills irritate him so much. Ryuya asks if he is going to run away, but he says he's in a good mood, calling him a bug. He jumps and says that he will still be able to have fun, because killing people is the best entertainment. He lands next to Ryuya and says that he will be his opponent, and Ryuya replies that he will entertain him. The demon viscount laughs and calls Ryu stupid. This is what everyone was waiting for. He says that his death will be miserable. The demon viscount asks him if he thinks he will be easier to deal with than 30,000 demons. He says that he is so pathetic and so stupid that he does not even realize that he is like that. He states that he will get great pleasure from killing them, the lesser beings. They will die suffering the torments of hell. Ryuya sees his characteristics. He reveals the true power of the titled demons. Not only does Benyon have a high level, but he also has many skills. He is a serious opponent for an ordinary person. Bunyan keeps saying that if he wanted to, he could kill them all with his own hands, not leaving a single wet spot. Does he really think that these demons were so necessary? Now they are definitely finished. He doesn't even realize that he and his comrades will be toys in his hands. Ryuya interrupts him and says he is talkative. Binyon holds out his hands to attack and says, "Let it be as he wishes, so he will be the first to die." He attacks with acid mist. The soldiers shout that this one is deadly, so they must retreat. Benya shouts that this is the true power of demons, many abilities. He keeps yelling that there is such a huge difference in strength between humans and demons, aren't they going to give up? He keeps calling them pathetic. Ryuya moves through the fog and says that you can't see a thing. He thinks that if the fog is not cleared, the soldiers might get hurt. Then he will have to. He calls Bunyan and says that everything will be as he wishes. There is a huge explosion. The demon is in shock. He screams, "What is this white fog? Was his acid fog simply blocked? This can't be, because his power." Here Bunyan interrupts and asks if he thinks his power is stronger than the devil's spirit. She says that she strongly doubts it. She looks at Bunyan with disdain and calls him a demon. He trembles with fear and does not understand where the devil's spirit comes from. He quickly rattles off that the abilities of the devil's spirit surpass even the strongest demons. He thinks that this is nonsense. How could she be here? Why did she unite with humans? He repeats again that this is nonsense. Ambinian says irritably, "How many words, and that she will not deny everything." She smiles and replies that she obeys the stronger. That's all. Isn't that crazy? Bunyan is shocked and doesn't believe these words. He asks again if the devil's spirit can obey a man who is stronger than her, as if he would believe it. Ambinian tells him that he will soon see for himself. Den Ryuya comes out of the fog, coughing, and says that he finally got out. He was a little confused. He tells Ambinian that he was a little surprised when he started seeing through her eyes. She snidely says that he probably wants her to make sure all the soldiers are safe, and she already has. She asks what's wrong with his face. Ryuya pats her on the head and thanks her for filling his request. She smiles and says what a wonderful feeling it is. Bunyan screams that this is impossible, that acid rain is 500 times stronger than normal acid, that it is impossible to survive in it, much less remain unharmed. How did this happen? Ryuya says that he just has very high survivability and defense. The demon doesn't understand what he's talking about. He asks him what he is, whether he is a man at all. He answers that this is so, that he is an ordinary man. Then he says, does he know that he doesn't like killing, but the demon looks down on people and sees nothing wrong with killing them. So, Bunyan asks, so what? Ryuya suddenly moves and appears right in front of the demon's face and says that he will have to kill him. Ryuya punches him, and he falls back. Half of his head is burned. Bunyan starts to get angry and stutters that he will kill him and that he has high regeneration. Ryuya continues to strike, wondering what he can do to him. The demon at this time thinks that this cannot be, and that he has time to regenerate. At this rate, this man, he wonders if he will simply disappear forever as an ordinary person. After a while, Ryuya is told that this is a great job. He answers on Bunyan that it is all thanks to her. The soldiers come out and say that the sky has brightened again, which means it's the lady and Ryuya. They see them. Ryuya walks, holding the knight in his hands, and says that they have won. The soldiers are happy that the lady has returned to them and that everything is fine. Finally, it is a victory. Someone orders the gates to be opened. The knight calls Ryu, who turns around. She says that she can stand on her own, so let her go, because it embarrasses her a little. Ryuya tells her not to overdo it. Binyan says that if he carried her like that, she would only be happy. Nuum agrees and says that she would also be in seventh heaven. Ryuya says to listen to Avignon. She immediately says that she really wouldn't be against it. He sternly says that he's serious. A few hours later, in the kingdom of Centakilian, on the triumphal street, all the people are shouting and rejoicing at the return of the heroes. Ryuya asks if this is too much. The knight says, what nonsense. They easily defeated the demon army so naturally they are happy. People shout, long live the kingdom, long live the king. That this is a great victory. The king congratulates them on their return and says that he has already received the report. His cheeks are red. They are burning. He says excitedly that he wants to hear everything from the participants of the battle, so let them start telling stories. Nuum thinks to himself how lucky he is. The knight tells that after the first attack of the demons, she was in a terrible state, but when they arrived, they replenished their stocks of potions and cured the entire army. He is surprised. She continues to say that the next battle the demon warlord brought 30,000 demons with him, but with Nuum and Ryu's help, they were able to destroy them all, ending up with 0 casualties. The king's eyes glow brighter. He is still in awe. The king asks what's wrong with his skill. He can harm her. She replies that it's true. She tells him that she survives thanks to Nuum and Ryuya. Nuum thinks to herself, what a look he has. The knight says that, first of all, the main merit in defeating the demons belongs to Ryuya. She would like him to receive the highest reward. The knight looks at Ryu, who looks back. The king says that perhaps Ryu was sent to them by God himself. Ryuya says no. This victory wouldn't have been possible without all of his subjects. The king says he's about to cry. Then he asks why he doesn't make them all aristocrats. Then the minister comes out and asks if he is sure. Where has it ever been seen that commoners become aristocrats, and especially not Ryuya without skill? The king clicks his tongue and says menacingly how he is so tired of him. Ryuya and Nuum freeze, seeing that the king is angry. The minister says that his gratitude will be enough for such common people, and to tell the truth, it will even be a lot. The king looks at him menacingly and says that these are such big words. He shouts for everyone to listen, that the king's job is to govern the kingdom and help the subjects, and this time it was saved by Ryuya. That is, he fulfilled the duty of the king. The title of aristocrat is only the smallest reward that awaits him in the future. The minister trembles with fear. The minister trembles with fear. The king tells Ryuya that, in general, they will decide on the name of the house later. First of all, whether he agrees to become an aristocrat. He starts to say something awkwardly. The king says that he likes him. He wants him to continue serving him. The king is already asking him in prayer. Ryuya doesn't understand what kind of faces these are, and how can he refuse him when even the knight is looking at him like that? The minister shouts at them to slow down. The king and the knight ask irritably and simultaneously what it is this time. Ryuya thinks to himself that he is noisy. The minister says he just learned that an important guest has arrived, so first he must respect the guest and then decide. When asked who he is talking about, he says that a hero has arrived. Ryuya doesn't understand what hero. The knight is also surprised. Doesn't he know? She says that a hero is someone chosen by the church. The church determines the skills of people and takes the strongest into its service. This is a select elite, the best fighters, heroes who serve the church with faith and truth. Ryuya thinks that means they are pawns of the church. Lonzite already mentioned them to him. He looks at the knight and thinks that it is written on her face how much she hates them. But why? A guy comes and says that the desperate brave Liber has arrived to save the kingdom. The minister applauds him. Everyone else stands in complete shock. The king asks him what to save him from. He laughs and says that his kingdom doesn't suffer from constant attacks by demons. He smugly says that this is why he came, now they can rest easy. A strong hero like him will stop the demon invasion without any problem. He suggests throwing a feast in honor of his arrival. Ryuya looks at him and says that he is so noisy and always waving his arms. He tries to remember what his name was. He remembers that he is Liber, one of those who received a strong skill and then abandoned it. Could this really be that Liber? Liber keeps shouting that his power will bring order. They will finally see his greatness. He is sure that he will cope, no doubt. The king looks and says that he cannot even get a word in. Liber says the ballads will be composed about his victory, and as a reward he will receive a beautiful princess. Leselza hides behind Noam. Ryu starts calling him. He rudely asks who he is, why he decided that he could just call him by his name. Ryuya says it's him. He says he has no idea, then suddenly remembers and asks if he's really Ryuya. What will the reunion bring? The king asks Rui if he knows the hero. He replies that they used to be friends. Liber asks what he is saying and that he has no idea what he is talking about. He says how a hero like him could have a friend without skill. It's a shame. But he really knows him. He asks why he is here. Doesn't a person like Ryu belong in the trash? Ryu thinks about the contempt in Liber's eyes. He says that it is true. He should leave. He keeps thinking about the look of contempt for him. Liber turns to the king and says that maybe they can finally get down to urgent business. The king asks what he is talking about. Liber is hesitant at first and tells them to stop pretending, because there is an army of demons on their kingdom, and the church sent him, the brave Liber. The king understands and says that the priests and heroes who possess the most powerful skills, who must fight the demons, and whom he asked for help. Liber says that this is true. The king says he has been asking for help over and over again since the demons appeared, and the church continues to ignore him. Ryuya asks the knight if this is true. She confirms. The sacred magic of the church is very effective against demons. Priests are just able to handle it, and he is completely silent about the skills of heroes. The church has monopolized all means of fighting demons, so the church has sent a request for payment for the work. They literally suck money out of the kingdoms on a global level. The king says that this is a shop of greedy swindlers. Liber says to wait, after all. He has arrived. The church helps many kingdoms, so they cannot immediately respond to his request. The king knocks on the table and says that this means that they also have priorities. The king says that a moment's delay could result in the death of people. His kingdom donates a huge amount of gold to the church every year. Apparently, he needs to think 3 times before sending a donation next time. Liber says that he is not the only one who makes a donation. And as for his word, he would not like to lose the donations. But he asks him to think about it. He raises his head and says that he is the hero Liber. He can marry Princess Lesleds. Ryuya turns around and tells the knight that he called him a princess. Noam says that it suddenly got cold here. The king asks if he really wants him to give him the princess to protect the kingdom. Liber says that the patronage of the church will be useful to him, and it is the duty of the king to defend his kingdom. The king says that these are interesting words. He asks if this is a threat. Liber smiles maliciously. Ryuya looks at this and thinks that this is terrible. Maybe he should intervene, but then changes his mind, saying that it is too early. Liber laughs madly and shouts that he is waiting for an answer. He says in a commanding tone to give him the princess, and peace will come to the kingdom. Even more, here it will come. The king shouts that this will never happen and throws him an object. He dodges, finishing his speech that paradise will come. The king says that it is better to be at the mercy of demons than of people like him. He says menacingly that he refuses. Liber is indignant. What nonsense, let him come to his senses. The king says that this is not a joke. Didn't he notice what mood everyone was in? He tells them that the demons have already been defeated, the kingdom is saved, so they don't need him. Liber asks if that wasn't a welcoming parade in honor of his arrival. He even waved at them. The king says how stupid he is, how inflated his ego is. The king tells him to get lost. He is not going to talk to someone like him anymore. He tells Liber to tell the church that his kingdom is separating and that they will not receive a penny from him again. Ryuya says that he is very angry. The knight agrees with him. Liber asks the king to wait and says that he cannot believe it. He is just bargaining. Then he offers to negotiate. The king answers him that he doesn't care what he doesn't believe in. Liber stutters and asks who then dealt with the demons. He asks to tell who it was. The minister tells Liber to calm down and that it is hard to believe, but the demons were dealt with by a man with no skill. He points his finger at Ryu. Liber repeats his name in shock. He grabs him by the shoulders, twitches, and asks him to tell the truth. It is a lie that he is hiding the truth. He calmly says that nothing of the sort. Liber screams that he is a useless man with no skill. He is just an outcast because he should have dealt with the demons. Here, Noam comes out and slaps Liber so that he just flies away in shock. Ryuya looks questioningly at Noam's confident face. Noam tells Liber to shut up and that she won't allow a coward like him to say such things about Mr. Ryu. She says that almost everyone present personally witnessed him defeat the demons. Knight Commander Zeisbach shouts that this is true, and that he swears by his knightly honor. Noam says he's a real coward for humiliating the one who fought while he relaxed and hid, so he gets out of here. Liber calls Noam a pig, a pathetic girl, ill-mannered, and shouts that he will kill her for insulting a hero, because this is punishable by death. Ambinian comes out and says that only Libera is ill-mannered here. Such a fog is beginning. He gets scared and asks what this fog is. Ambinian looks at Noam and says that it was well said, and that she is a good girl. Liber raises his head and asks where the ghost came from. Ambinian says he's a real clown. She says that although he is funny, it is time for him to go. This fog envelops the guy and spins him upward. He flies upward with a scream. Ryuya says that he could have done it himself. Ambinian asks why he should bother and waste his strength on such a thing. The king calls the minister, who gets scared. The king says that now the whole festive atmosphere is spoiled, because he usually negotiates with the church. It's all too suspicious. Maybe they gave him a bribe, so he needs to check. He bows at his feet and says that nothing of the sort. The king says that he will think about his next appointment for now. And for now, let him wait and prepare. He suggests going down. He wanted to discuss something with Ryuya. Ryuya asks Noam and Ambinian why they are here. The king wanted to talk to him. Noam answers that they are always near them. Ambinian says that they are one with him. Ambinian says that they are one with him. A knight comes up and asks for forgiveness because she hid behind their backs while the hero was saying bad things about him. Ryuya tells him to forget. Ryu says that Liber's target was her. He doesn't think the king wanted her to interfere. He asks the king if that's true. The king says that, as the hero said, Wasetsi is a princess, and she is his fourth daughter. Ryuya tells him that he was scared. The king says that it is very important to continue the royal line. But, in the background, the knight asks Ambinian in what sense he is scared. What is he talking about? Ambinian replies that she has no idea if she has any thoughts. The king says that Lesledza is special, born from the woman he loved with all his heart. Ryuya thinks to himself that this is not a political marriage, but one of love. Then it is a serious matter. The king says that ironically her mother is of low rank. No one will support Lesledza, so she cannot inherit the throne. Ryuya asks if he really decided to make her his knight then, and he replies that it is absolutely true. The king tried to distance her from the problems of the royal family. He wants her to find her happiness. At least that is his wish as a father. The king says that a church has appeared here. He doesn't know where from, but they found out that she is a princess. Most likely, by marrying her, the church wants to interfere in their politics. Judging by the character of this hero, he is unlikely to give up so easily. Ryuya asked that since they weren't going to agree, that's why he was so eager to defeat the demons himself. The king replies that of course he was not allowed to use Lesledza as a political tool, so he wants to make Ryu an aristocrat, wants him to become her ally. The king asks him to think about it. After some time, Ryuya walks with Noam and says that he was given time to think, but what should he do in the end? Suddenly, someone calls him. It's Liber, telling him that there's a conversation. Ryuya asks if he's really back. Liber says they'll talk in private. Noam immediately objects and says he's probably up to something nasty. Rua smiles at Noam standing up for him. Ryuya looks up and tells Ambinion to keep an eye on Noam, who keeps saying it's suspicious. Ambinion smiles and tells him to trust her, in the kingdom of Centakelion behind the Western Tower. On the way, Liber keeps talking about how he misses their measured life, and then resists and says that he does not want to remember this miserable life. He smiles maliciously and says that he is lucky because he learned a valuable skill at the ceremony. Liber looks at him smugly and says with a smile that he looked like an abandoned dog. Ryuya doesn't react to his words and asks how Kridrode and Zeta are. He replies that he has no idea. He was immediately sent to training for heroes, where they are preparing to fight demons. If a person is weak, they get rid of him. Liber was able to survive such a selection. Liber says, "It's cool. Isn't that how an ordinary guy became a hero? He is sure that he is capable of anything, all thanks to his skill, success." He raises his head and asks, "Isn't it true that the best deserves the best, so he..." He abruptly grabs Ryu by the shoulders and asks him to talk to Princess Lesledza. He is on good terms with the king. He just doesn't even know what the princess looks like yet. But even if she is ugly, he is ready to put up with it. Ryuya now understood to himself. That's it. That's why he behaved like that in front of her. He remembers Noam asking. So this is his goal. Ryuya had met people who were proud of their skills before, but Liber was a different matter, because he had never been like that before. Liber asks Ryu if he will help him. He interprets this as trash, without skill will help the hero, because that's great. Ryuya asks why he treats people like things. He says that he is trying to give his empty life some meaning. It is a plus for the princess after he marries her, gets rid of the rest of the king's children, and the job is done. Then he adds that the little one who follows him around has the skill of an alchemist lord, so he decides to take her too. Ryuya doesn't respond to this. Liber continues to say that such people are rare in the church, so she will be useful, although she hit him, so he will have to teach her manners first. Then he remembers Ambinion, calling her a ghost girl. He says that she is kind of useless, but beautiful. Ryoisk asks Liber seriously and menacingly what he is talking about. He does not calm down and says that even someone like him can be useful, so let him be happy that he will help him. Ryuya reflects that in just 5 years he has changed so much. He doesn't know if it was because of the training center. Can a person really change that much? Ryuya says what a rotten person he is, that even though he was poor, he was decent. But once he got the skill, his vision became clouded. How did this happen? Liber is shocked and doesn't understand what he's saying. He stutters and says that he has no skills. So is he really that stupid? Liber starts laughing madly and saying that he doesn't understand anything at all, that he's an unworthy person to live. Ryuya continues to look at him in surprise. Liber starts to get angry and then yells at him not to look down on him. He threatens him that he will kill him. He misses and flies further away. Ryuya thinks that he was aiming for his neck and that he was going to kill him. Liber asks what it was, if it broke. Ryuya replies that he should be the one to say what kind of surprise attack it was. Liber laughs again, and says that now he understands why he is so impudent. Ryuya wonders if this hero has really understood everything. Liber says that he clearly has some kind of powerful skill. Ryuya thinks to himself that this is a miss. He continues to babble that apparently skills can be acquired without the church ceremony. It is obvious that he has a skill that dramatically increases defense, some kind of body-strengthening skill. Ryuya says no. He does not listen, and says that he recognizes him as his opponent. Liber says how he could become a hero is his strongest and most versatile skill. Ryuya will understand that his skill is just a joke. Ryuya thinks to himself that he is just talking for now. Ryuya sees his characteristics. He temporarily receives the enemy's skill, uses the skill as his own. Those whose skill was stolen cannot use it. There are restrictions. It is impossible to rob several people at the same time. Skills are stolen temporarily. Ryuya thinks to himself, is it possible that even such vile skills are blessed by the church? Liber says that he is interested in what kind of skill he has. He says that, well, he will show him everything now. He replies that he is not particularly interested, because he already knows everything. Liber still tells that he can steal other skills and use them as his own. Ryuya wonders to himself if he will take his power. It's all a bit confusing. Liber says that he is the strongest, no matter how strong his opponent is. With his skill, he will always be stronger. He tells Ryu that he will also be unable to use his skill while he has it. so his opponents will know despair. Ryuya says that this is more of a sneaky thief's skill than a hero's. He yells at him to shut up because only the winner is always right. He raises his hand and activates the skill steal, as if he is reaching into Ryu's soul. But the process ends, and there is silence. Liber says that the theft is complete. Now that his skill is all his, he punches him. Ryuya easily deflects the blow behind himself, and he flies away and falls to the ground, covered in wounds and abrasions. He trembles and does not understand what it was, and that he only became stronger. Is his skill not strengthening the body? Ryuya then says, maybe he should look for himself. He looks and shouts that he doesn't believe it. His skill didn't work. He's in standby mode. Ryuya places his hand on Liber's shoulder and says that he can't just appear out of thin air. He approaches him and says that he understands this very well himself. Ryuya simply picks him up and throws him at the wall. He looks up and doesn't understand what kind of power this is. He understands that Ryuya is already next to him. He doesn't understand when he managed to do it. Does he really have not only a strong body and physical strength, but also enormous speed? Ryuya punches the wall, causing a huge hole to appear. Libera screams in fear and trembles in fear. He keeps saying that it's impossible. How much does his skill enhance his physical abilities? Ryuya tells him that he doesn't have any skill. He shouts again that now he understands everything. Ryuya asks if they really understood everything exactly. Liber says he's heard of things like this, where some of the best skills can have effects that can negate the effects of other skills, which is why his theft didn't work. Ryuya again says that he told him, but he doesn't listen. Laughs and says that it looks like he got a decent skill. He shouts that it's great and wonderful and that he will get the skill. He asks him to use his ace up his sleeve. Ryuya doesn't understand what the ace up his sleeve is. He says that he will tell him now. Liber blabbers again that he can sacrifice his skill to get it permanently. It's a top-level operation that can only be used once in a lifetime. Ryuya remembers that something like that was written in the description. Liber says that he will take away his skill forever, and that it is called total deprivation. He is happy that he will finally be able to obtain the strongest skill that he has been waiting for. With such a strong skill really right in front of him, how funny. He stretches out his hand again and tells him to receive, activating the ultimate skill. He uses it. Again, nothing happens. He swings again and says, it's a pity he didn't realize its value earlier, then bids it farewell. Here, Ryuya just hits him in the stomach. He writhes and coughs. Ryuya tells him to listen to him and look at his parameters now. Liber now sees that he has no skill at all. He panics and shouts that he has no skill now. Ryu thinks that means he has won. He keeps shouting to cancel. He cries and says it's a dream, a nightmare. Ryuya gets irritated and punches him in the face. He falls, loses consciousness. Ryuya exhales and thinks that it was strange. A friend turned out to be an enemy. The hero Liber is left without a skill, and is eventually kicked out of the church. Meanwhile, Ryuya is told that he must pay compensation for the broken wall. The king tells him that he shouldn't, so he shouldn't worry. They'll patch it up themselves. Ryuya thanks them. The king says that this overconfident fool was so confident in his powers, but in the end, he lost them. Ryuya thinks to himself that he even feels a little sorry for him, although he deserves it. Nuem shouts that Mr. Ryuya did nothing wrong, and that the hero himself is to blame, because he attacked him, began to make demands and attacked, so he is the real criminal. The king says that Liber is simply a foolish man who does not know his place. Ambinion says that she then laughed heartily. Naturally, Ryu was called here. He asks Noam and Ambinion because they were supposed to return home. They answer that they watched from afar, because that's how a girl's heart is made, and Noam is no exception. Ryuya wonders what kind of girl's heart she's talking about. Ambinion says that since they had seen everything, they had to tell all the details to this pompous old man. She managed to explain to him that they were not guilty. The king says that there was no need to call him a pompous old man. Ryuya silently asks for forgiveness for her. The king says that when it comes to self-defense, evidence from loved ones alone may not be enough. The church will clearly point this out. Let them not forget that they grew up by walking over the heads of other people. Ambinion says there is no need to worry. If they challenge the master, he will easily finish them off. Ryuya thinks to himself that it is too early to kill them. Ryuya wants everything to go peacefully. Of course, he's not going to make any strong concessions. Not to mention that they'll probably try to slander him. He's sure that he's clearly attracted their attention. In the background, workers are rebuilding the wall that Ryuya destroyed. One holds bricks and says that the sun is still high. Another, dragging bricks towards him, offers them a snack. The king explains that the church is the only one capable of confronting the demons, and Ryuya, having defeated one of these heroes, has clearly undermined their authority. So it is inevitable. Ryuya says that things are bad then. Ryuya doesn't want to interfere, and doesn't want to get along with the church either. The king laughs and says that, of course, his kingdom will do everything it can to support him. He will do everything in his power to thank him. Ambinion asks him if he will help simply from the bottom of his heart. He answers, of course. She asks again if there are no hidden motives. He answers, none. And then, in a calm voice, he says that he will not be able to speak out in his defense if he is a simple adventurer. Ryuya asks again. Ambinion smiles slyly. The king says that he will ask him again if he wants to become a nobleman of his kingdom. Ryuya thinks to himself that they are back at it again. He also thinks that there are clearly ulterior motives, and believes that he will be comfortable receiving so many privileges. The king tells him that it doesn't look like he will accept his offer, and he asks for forgiveness. The king slumps down in his chair and says with a sigh, well then, what can he do? He won't force him. But if things are left as they are, the church will start to act. Ambinion says he doesn't have to worry if it comes to that. The master will just wipe the church off the face of the earth. Ryuya irritably thinks that she's at it again. Ryuya thinks that there is no opponent equal to him or Ambinion, so she is not worried. Her sense of self-preservation has dulled. The king asks, what about Laslidza? Because he never knows when exactly the next hero will come and declare the same thing. Ambinion raises her hand and says she has a great idea. Her life is much longer than the short life of a human, so her wisdom allows her to come up with great ideas. She jumps into the king's arms. Ryuya thinks to herself, this is modesty. Ambinion says, let Ryuya marry the young princess. Ryuya looks at her in shock. A new quest appears. A wedding. You need to make a vow before God and become a married couple. Ambinion says that this is the perfect plan that solves all their problems. It's as easy as pie. Ryuya thinks to himself that it's nothing like that. The king says that it might work. Ryuya doesn't understand and asks what he's talking about. The king explains that he should judge for himself. The goal of the church is marriage with the princess, and everything to get a person into the royal family. This is possible, as long as she is not married. Ryuya thinks that this is true, and that a person can only tie their life forever to one partner. This is the rule of the church. Ambinion says that here a gentleman will come on the scene to resist the attacks of the church. The support of the kingdom is needed, because without it there is no way, and only the one who is supported by the people can marry the princess. The king ponders hard. Ryuya thinks to himself that he is a pacifist by nature. If it will help avoid problems, then it is better to do so. Then he thinks that he doesn't want to become an aristocrat at all, so he makes this decision. Ambinion says that aristocrats are not only relatives of the king. She whispers to Ryuya, let him just think about it. She says he will be directly related to the king. Why not become the king's son-in-law? The king says that it is true. If Ryuya marries the princess, he will become his son-in-law, and he will be able to enjoy his power to the fullest. Ryuya says that he will still be an aristocrat. The king says that this way he will become a member of the royal family. This is different from the usual granting of the title of aristocrat. The king is happy and says that Ryuya will take a position above any aristocrat. Ryuya thinks that he is right about this. The family connection with the king is a strong support. The king tells Ambinion that she is such a calculating demon that she is a true genius, a ghost girl. Ambinion says that she is not a ghost at all and calls him stupid. Ryuya thinks to himself that they have gotten along. Then he begins to think that this is unacceptable, and that at this rate they will get the better of him. He tells them to stop. They ask what is going on. He shouts at them, pointing his finger at them, to stop making decisions for him. No matter how successful this option is, they still won't be able to pull off the job without the most important thing. They ask in complete bewilderment, what is the most important thing? He asks irritably if they seriously don't understand. He explains that, firstly, marriage involves two people who love each other and plan a future together. Ambinion asks what is the matter. Is he not interested in this night girl? He awkwardly says that he did not mean that. Laslidza is very sweet and attractive. She is dear to him. Then Ambianoro approaches him defiantly and looks at him. He gets worried and patient. Defiantly and looks at him. He gets worried and says that she is too close. Ryuya thinks that everyone is trying to marry her, but in order to prevent this, he will have to marry her. He thinks this is nonsense. Ryo asks the king if he himself said that he wanted her to marry the one she liked, didn't he? He awkwardly replies that something like that happened. The king says that this is not a political marriage. He can be calm if Ryuya is with her. He shouts that her feelings are more important. He says seriously that no matter what they come up with, there can be no marriage if she doesn't like him. Then he thinks that he has said everything, and it does not matter that he is a king. The most important thing in marriage is not position and benefit. It is important to love each other. Ambinian appears and says that it's not a problem. Ryuya looks at her in shock, and she says that they will find out everything now and call the night girl. Ryuya thinks that talking about marriage without the person you're going to marry is weird. The night comes and says happily that Ryuya is here too. The king asks her forgiveness and says that she was probably busy with things after the battle. She replies that no, because Lord Ryuya did a lot in that battle, she needs to repay him with at least politeness. Amnion tells Ryuya to look up the information on her, who agrees with the idea that he doesn't really like using her for nothing. He looks at her stats and sees that her level of sympathy towards him is 5 hearts. Ryuya thinks that her level has increased and thinks that maybe she gained experience from that battle. No wonder. 30,000 demons were crushed by 7,000 soldiers. Then he only notices sympathy and thinks, what is it? He has long been interested in what the degree of sympathy is. This parameter is not in the guild card. Maybe this is a feature of Ambinian. The demon says that, as it is written, the parameter expresses the degree of sympathy. It shows what a person feels for him. He ponders and begins to suspect it. Ambinian says that here is proof of love. Feelings of the opposite are indicated by the symbol of hearts. You can call it love. Ryuya calls her a real devil. Ryuya starts to think about when these feelings of love appeared. She replies that the events on the battlefield played a role. In addition, he beat up that idiot who was pestering her. This is enough to fall in love. The king tells his daughter that they have been talking about something. Then he asks her directly if she is ready to get married. She immediately asks if he is really going to hand her over to the church. He replies that he would not do that. Then he adds that they will not leave her alone until she gets married. The king says that this is why he decided to give her in marriage to a famous person among them. But she, in a panic, tells him to wait. She kneels down and tells him not to worry about her. She will devote herself to chivalry for the rest of her life. She lowers her head and says that her duty is to be a protector of the weak. The king says before he plays out the drama, maybe she'll find out who he's talking about. She screams at whoever it is. The king cuts her off abruptly and says that his fiancé will be Ryuya. Then there is silence. The knight immediately rises and with burning eyes and red cheeks asks what it is. The king says that this way Ryu will always be at hand, but he just got angry. She gets scared and asks why he got angry. The king says that Ryuya said he would not continue the conversation about marriage without the bride herself. So they called her. Ryuya is outraged that the king just went and laid it all out. Leseledza thinks hard at first, and then asks sharply what they are talking about. She blushes even more. The king says that if she is really against it, then he will have to give up the idea. She panics and says to stand. She starts to get embarrassed and stutter, asking to wait a little. And what is this? She can't finish her thought. Amnion whispers to Ryuya that, as she said, she has fallen in love. She begins to congratulate him. He stands in shock. Leseledza says, asking for forgiveness first, that she cannot do this. Everyone is shocked, including her father. She says that the problem is not with Mr. Ryu. He is a real hero. If he becomes her husband, she will be the happiest. The king asks, what is the matter then? She looks down and then says that he has Mrs. Noam. Ryuya doesn't understand what Nuim has to do with it. Leseledza asks, because she also loves Mr. Ryuya. She says she can't do that to her. Nuam starts saying that what matters most to her is that he's happy. She says that she is only here because of Mr. Ruri's efforts, so she should at least thank him somehow. She will not interfere with him building a happy life. Leseledza appears and shouts that this is wrong. Ryuya does not understand what is happening at all. Lezelets screams that just letting go is not the only way to thank him. She was always there for him, always supported him. She can't just take him away because he needs new more. They start throwing arguments at each other. The king and Ryuya don't understand what's going on. Then Ambion comes out and says that she will take the master then. Then everyone turns to look at her. The king begins to speak. Ambion asks him what he will say to this. That the Lord will take them both. Noem and Leselidze stand there, their mouths hanging open. Ryuya asks what they're talking about. How did they both get along? Ambinion says she's sure they'll get along. The king says that this is a common thing for strong and powerful people. For example, he has 4 wives and he has had a child with all of them. Ryuya thinks to himself, maybe they just can't decide. The king says that, besides, in his opinion, he can entrust Leselidze to a man like him without any problems, and he does not want to offend the young lady Noama. One should not forget about her ability as a great alchemist. Amion whispers that a worthy master must have many wives, so why should one brush aside such a chance? Smoke is already coming out of Ryu's ears and nose. He is asked if he will accept this marriage for the sake of the future of this country. He thinks that if he refuses, he will be a real devil in their eyes. Because everyone looks at him like that, he understands that everything has already been decided for him. He finally answers that he is ready to take responsibility and take both of them as wives. Silence falls. He asks why they are silent. Leselidze and Nuam are happy. One tells the other to take care of her. Ryuya is shocked. Are they really not against it? No. Of course he had a premonition that he and Noam would end up like this, but the king hugs Ryu and says that this is great, just wonderful. Now Ryu is his son, a member of the family. He hugs him tighter, presses him, and says that he hopes that he will continue to be useful to the state and that they will have a celebration. Ryuyo says that he's too loud. Ambinion sits on the king's throne and says that the king is so cheerful and that there is clearly something in it. She hasn't been so cheerful for a long time. Ryu has 2 wives, and all the people of the kingdom learned about what was happening on the battlefield, and they began to believe that a real hero had appeared in the kingdom. He's just another adventurer from the Adventurers Guild. He doesn't have any skill. His name is Ryuyu. The order is given to open the gates. The man stands up and says that he will leave from here on foot. The girl whips at the newspaper page and says that Rua has the face of a real country bumpkin. She will do here too. She hasn't been to the castle for a long time. The smiling boy says that he too. The gate guards look up and see that it is the princess, and then they begin to shout that the king's children have returned. They are Leselidze's brothers and sister. Leselidze calls Ryuya her dear husband and rejoices at his return. The new wife meets her husband. Ryuya is not used to this. He received a mansion from the royal palace. Leselidze asks him what's wrong. Is he really feeling unwell? He awkwardly says no. He's just very happy. They say that until recently the family of Minister Huside lived here. Who is that anyway? Leselidze asks him if she did something wrong, since she never dressed like that. He replies that everything's fine. She is just not in armor. She says that she never acted like a girl because she trained to be a knight. She doesn't know if she can be a good wife for such a great man. Ryuya awkwardly says that he is not that great. Leselidze shouts that he is great, that he is the strongest man and hero on earth. Her father, that is. His Majesty asked to be with him, representing his country. She confidently says that therefore she will do whatever he wishes. Ryuya repeats her words and wonders what strange things the king told her. Leselidze asks if he wants to eat, take a bath, or if he wants to train, then they will spar. Ryuya thinks to himself that the last phrase seems unnecessary. He asks her what Noam is doing. She replies that she's in the lab with Mrs. Ambinion. Noam, now a wife, has moved in. She has taken up the study of alchemy seriously. Noam uses one of the rooms in the mansion as a laboratory, and now she obsessively mixes different materials, trying out new recipes. The Guild of Craftsmen buys everything that comes out of it, has fun as best they can. Ambinion is in charge of everything and makes money. Leselidze turns to Ryuya and says that she is sorry to tell him this, because he just returned home, but his father sent a letter. He must definitely come to the castle tomorrow. Ryuya thinks to himself that since he became his son-in-law, he is not at all embarrassed to call him. Leselidze tells him to be careful. She adds that if it is necessary, then there is clearly something wrong. The next day, during a meeting, She says that it seems her brothers and sisters have returned. First Prince Emnanto says that he is the hero and that he did well. First Princess Isabella smiles at him. Brother Zemnanto says that he praises him as a future king. He hopes that he will continue to serve his kingdom. Second Prince Ruselsh only smiles. Uriah and Lisledza look at them with dismay. Isabella tells him not to fool the ignorant commoner. She, the eldest child of King Leonhard, will be the senior ruler. She tells Ryuya that if he wants to swear allegiance to someone, then it is only to him. Ryuya does not understand what is happening at all. Zemnanto shouts that sons have priority in inheriting the throne. The eldest son should be the successor. Isabella says that he is naive, because there were already queens in their kingdom, and the throne should belong to the wisest. He shouts that then he should definitely take the throne. He's much wiser than her. She says that she has not heard of such loud sages. Ryuyo is still standing, not understanding what is going on here. The king sighs and tells his children that this is enough. The two bow and agree with him. Ruselsh laughs quietly again. Ryuya turns his gaze to him. Liselda calls Ryuya dear, as if asking for forgiveness. She tells her brothers and sister that all three of them are the true children of King Centakilian, and each of them has a right to inherit the throne. But in the end, only one of them will be responsible for the future of this country. Someone says that she has a cute dress. Elder Zemnanto says, "Wasn't it made clear? Since his father's noble blood flows in him, there's nothing he can do about it." He heard that she worked hard this time. He says sarcastically, maybe he should start praising her as a queen already. Leseledza only thanks him. He says that he doesn't think that with her origin she will be able to take the throne. He looks at her with hatred and says that half of the blood that flows in her is the blood of a homeless mongrel who doesn't even really know who she is. Therefore, a daughter born from the womb of a dog is also a dog, in his opinion. Ryuya wonders what the difference is. Lisledza lowers her eyes and says that she was born from a low-ranking person and was not treated well. Even when she received the title of knight, she is willing to serve this country to the fullest in order to reward him with an honorable title. Zemnanto says that it is a good idea. With this attitude, she will continue to work for the benefit of her life, just like a hunting dog that can be used by everyone, even if it is useless. He stops speaking because Ryu points his finger at his face. Then he lifts him up, holding him by the collar. He screams, what is he even doing? His brother and sister just look at him. He screams at him to let go. Ryuya tells him what kind of education he is getting if he behaves like this, and that the people he shares blood with are not called dogs. Leseledza asks Ryu to stop. She explains that they are still the same prince and princess. Only her mother is a commoner. This is what distinguishes her from her brother, who is the son of the king's wife. Ryuya doesn't stop and says that people should be equal regardless of their background. Ignoring this and comparing people is like losing the qualifications of the individual. He says that the only trouble with the country is that such people become kings, and yet he insults his precious woman, and for this, he will make him kneel before her. Zemnanto keeps shouting what he's doing. He calls the guards and tells them to kill this madman. Then the king asks them to wait. The king tells Ryu that the disrespect caused by this stupid nonsense will be deeply offensive to him, and asks if he can suppress his anger. Ryuja says that it was Zemnanto who disrespected him, so there is no point in him apologizing. The king says he will postpone the conversation with him until later. Ryuyo takes and throws Zemnanto into the ground. He shouts at his father to get rid of this werewolf now. Since he has harmed the royal family, he must be executed publicly. The king looks at his son menacingly and tells him to shut up, explaining that, firstly, Ryuya is the hero of the kingdom. If he had not defeated the demons, this country would have been destroyed long ago. If such a worthy man is executed, power will fall to the earth. He will not even think about it. Zemnanto is shaking with anger and says that then he will deal with the one who registers such werewolves, make it so that he will thank him for his kindness, and serve him loyally like a dog. The king exhales and tells him to do what he wants. Zemnanto says, addressing his father, that the first prince, Zemnanto, has just returned to his homeland. He is going to continue learning the wisdom of the ruler as he did before, and train to eventually become king. Isabella says that she has missed their faces, but now that she has returned, she will never leave them, thinking that now she will always be here to learn about the king's work. The third heir says that the second prince, Rusalsh, is also home. He smiles and waves his hand sweetly. The king says that's right, all three have already returned, he laughs. Ryuyo asks if they ever left. The king says he has something to say to them, the children who have returned from their mother's home. They ask what he wants to tell them. The king turns and says that he is going to deprive them of their right to the throne. All three were shocked by what they heard. Even Ryuya did not expect such a turn of events and pressed his lips in silence. Zemnanto shouts, "How can he take away their rights? What does he mean?" Isabella asks if maybe he said something wrong, or she heard him wrong. The king asks again if they are interested in why he decided so. Here, Zemnanto intervenes and says that if he cannot convince him, then these two can, after all. They do not deserve to become future kings. But they do. He says that due to his skills and background, as well as his diligent training, he is rightfully considered the most worthy successor. So why did he decide so? It is unfair, in his opinion. The king says, is it really him who is telling him that this is unfair, and begins to laugh through force? Lesaledza whispers to Ryuya that this unnatural laughter is a signal of something bad. Ryuya says that he understood her. The king then offers to listen to them, why they decided to return. Zemanto shouts that it is because this is their homeland. Isn't that obvious? Isabella shouts that this is the country where she was born and raised. She loves it with all her heart. The king says that it is clear to him that if they are so concerned about their country, then why did they abandon it and run away? Zamanto denies this. Isabella is indignant. Was it really she who abandoned the country and ran away? The king says they left the country when it faced a national crisis. What else can it be called except the treacherous escape? Ryuya asks his wife. She replies that the trigger for all this was the invasion of demons. They ran away everyone they could, and everyone wondered why. But at the very beginning of the attack, no one expected that Lord Ryu, the savior hero, would appear. Before his arrival, neither she nor he even hoped for fate. Her father took command to provide countermeasures against the demons, and he hid all the incoming information secretly from the people of the kingdom's capital. So as not to cause them to panic, they gathered all their soldiers and medicines from all over the country, and also asked for help from the church. Since she is a knight, she also tried to help from the church. Since she is a knight, she also tried to help her father as much as possible. Ryuya thinks to himself that this old man really is a capable king. He finally comes to understand this. Lesebza says that at this time, her three brothers and sister, Ryuya finishes for her, saying that they ran away. Yes, they ran away. This country will be destroyed by demons, according to Zemnanto. So he took it for granted and ran away from the country. Each of them was left with their mother's rented house. If they decide to return to this very house, they will live a rather luxurious life. Laseladza says that in this way, each of them lived in their parents' house until the news reached them that the demons had been defeated. Ryuya says that they were quite brave, or stupid. To decide to return after that, now he understands why the king decided to do so. The king says that he is the country. It would be a joke if the country died and the king remained alive. But nevertheless, the candidates for king ran away, every single one of them, which is outrageous. Zemnan then tells his father that he does not understand and that this is different. Isabella immediately asks him for forgiveness. The king pays attention to her. She says that he said that the king is the country, even if all the inhabitants of the kingdom die. But if any member of the royal family remains alive, the restoration of the country is a very likely process. Even if the entire kingdom is taken over by demons and burned to the ground, it only takes one member of the royal family to return to the scorched land and rebuild their nation. The king asks if that is why she ran away, and she says that yes, she was prepared to be branded as a disgrace for abandoning her country for the sake of the nation's chance of survival. Ryuya and Leseledza say she did a good job of it. The king says it makes sense, but there is a minimum requirement of behavior, at least to let him know that you are leaving the country, and not to do it secretly. And yet they all ran away without telling him. It was like a flight of rats trying to be the first to escape from a sinking ship. The king declares that what they have done can only be called a grave act of treason, and that cowards cannot be kings. Children scream in panic, asking to wait. What will happen to the future of their country? Who will be the next king? Ryuya thinks to himself that it would be nice if they could channel all that energy into something useful. But they ran away when the demons invaded. Isabella and Zamanto shout in unison, "That's it. Only the three of them have the right to inherit the throne. If he takes it from them, who will be next? What will happen to the country? They ask him to reconsider his decision. Ryuya thinks that they are showing some good unity. If only they had shown it during the demon invasion. The king tells them not to worry, because he has another child, and that he is much better than them. Ryuya thought that they were talking about him and wanted to say something, but the king called out Leslita's name. The king says that since her mother was a commoner, Lyselda could not be considered a candidate for the throne. But this time he took special measures, namely, he deprived all heirs of the right to inherit the throne. And as an incentive for her participation in the destruction of demons, she is given the right to be the first to inherit the throne. When he can no longer remain on the throne, Lyselda will take his place and become queen. Lyselda screams in shock. She stretches out her hand as if asking to wait. She tells her father, His Majesty, that all her life she was trained only as a knight, not a ruler. She does not know how to rule a country. The king says that she can learn it right now. She is a knight, so she has a title, and this is very similar to a royal title. You can say that the foundation is ready. She takes and shakes Ryuya by the shoulders and asks him what he thinks about it. Then she says that she should discuss everything with Mr. Ryuya. He is her husband now. The king remembers something and says that if you think about it, then Lord Ryuya also. By the way, here the children interrupt him, asking what she just said. Is the hero who saved the country Leslitzu's husband? Ryuya doesn't understand and asks if they didn't know. The king smiles and says that if Lyselda agrees to become king, will he be king? After all, now he is his son-in-law. The king's son-in-law. The king's son-in-law. In other words, and he has every chance of becoming king. Zemnanto shouts Lyselda's name in a menacing voice and says that she is something, born a commoner, and now she thinks that she can take the throne by deception. He states that this is only possible in her dreams. He tells his father to come to his senses. He, Zemnanto, who inherited blood from him and his mother, the ruler of the great southern power of Yuna, Rubrum. The king interrupts him abruptly, saying that this will never happen. He asks him if he hasn't learned his lesson yet. He realizes that aristocrats don't allow themselves to call their kind dogs. He's not even talking about kings. They clearly don't allow themselves to do that. He asks for forgiveness. The king pronounces the names of his children, the former heirs, that in their veins flows half the blood of members of other royal families. This means that they are only half noble, and the other half noble foreigners, and they prove this by their own actions. He concludes that Ryuya will defend this country in their stead, as the true king of Centakilian, for the people are already aware of his bravery. He says that Lyselda will be his successor. This is not up for discussion. He orders that this topic not be raised in the future. Ruselsh raises his hand and says, could he? And he says a few words. The king says that he never said anything, so he lets him speak. Ruselsh thanks him and says that he respects him as the wisest king. And in this situation he is completely right. He will follow him to the end. Xamanto and Isabella gape in shock. Ruselsh says that the thing is that as the second prince, he had low chances of inheriting the throne from the beginning. Isabella is angry and understands that this is why he acted like that. Zamanto says that he was a loser from the beginning. Ruselsh says that he agrees about the queen. But the problem is this, Ru. What kind of person is he? Lyselda looks at his brother in surprise. Ryuya starts to get wary, because Ruselsh looks at him as if he was planning something. Ruselsh tells Ryuya that rumors about him have already spread throughout the kingdom. They say that he is so strong that there is no one in the whole world who could surpass him. As soon as he returned back to the country, he immediately began to hear many different things about him, and he was immediately shocked. Ryuya wonders what is behind this smile of Ruselsh. He says that there was also a girl guild master. She spoke about him with the most passion. He hands over a sheet of paper with a picture of Ryuya and Lundite. He says that she was handing out these pamphlets to everyone. Ryuya thinks that he knows who the author is. Ruselsh says there was something else that even he couldn't believe. Lyselidze asks what it was. He replies that it's something he doesn't have the skills for. Ryuya replies that it's true, thinking to himself that they're really going to start discussing this topic again, but with him. Ruselsh says that it shouldn't be like this. Lyselda's husband, who was chosen first in line to the throne due to his abilities and achievements, actually has no skills. Lesledza intervenes and shouts that it is true that Ryuya became famous throughout the country because he almost single-handedly defeated the demons, and she is truly proud to be married to Lord Ryuya. She says with confidence that people tend to stick to the most striking actions, turning a blind eye to other things. A queen who chose a man with no skills as her husband. Rousselch says that if this news reaches the rulers of other countries, he fears that nothing good will come of it. Ryuya thinks to himself that the second prince is probably right. After all, skills are the most valuable thing in this world. If a person has skills, he can already apply for any high position. So he can't hold the position of king without having any skills. Lesledza asks her brother what he is getting at. Is he really saying that if she becomes queen, she should cancel her marriage with Lord Ryuya? Is that what he meant? Rousselch replies that not at all. Most likely, it is quite the opposite. When she, Lesledza, becomes queen, the factor of population unrest will be removed. And he's kind enough to contribute to this to the fullest extent. Ryuya thinks to himself that he treats people badly who say without any embarrassment that they are kind. He still does not understand the true intentions of the second prince. Rousselch says he just wants to take the opportunity to help the people he loves. Ryuya wonders what he wants to say with all this. Rousselch asks Ryu what his adventurer rank is. He replies that D. Rousselz says that he also has a D rank. Isn't that the rank of a newly minted auto lawyer? He thought that he wanted to somehow hide his true abilities, but he just doesn't have the skills. The king asks why the Adventurers Guild gave Ryuya such a low rank. He is surprised by this. The king says that it would be unseemly for the princess's husband to be only a D rank. In terms of status, he should at least be an A or C rank. Ryuya thinks to himself that he couldn't do anything about it. He was so strong that Mr. Ronfi, due to his lack of authority, couldn't give him such a high rank so quickly. Lesledza, behind him, says that there is a good reason for this. Ryuya thinks that the demon extermination case has not been announced to the guild yet. The king says that in that case he will issue a new decree. Roussel tells him that this cannot be done. He shouts that he will do it right away. Rousselch says that in fact, adventurers have their own rules. Even if the king orders them, they will not obey his orders and give Ryu a higher rank. He adds that this is why the rank given to an adventurer by the guild is of great importance. He says that adventurers have rules that even the royal family can't do whatever they want. If Ryuya can follow these rules and become the highest C rank, or even a strong A rank, it will clearly show that his abilities are truly strong. And even if he has no skills, a high rank will cover this shame with the shadow of his greatness. The king shouts that it's a good idea. Someone with enough skill can easily get a C rank. Rousselch says that an A class will be enough in his opinion. The king asks Ryu what he thinks if he wants to rank up, and that he will send a petition to the guild. Ryu laughs nervously. Ryuya thinks that as an adventurer, he really wants to rise in rank. He tells the king that he will do his best, as long as he has the opportunity to rise in rank. Rousel says that in this way, after receiving a high rank, announcing to the whole country about his marriage to Lesledza will not create confusion and mistrust. Ryuya wonders if this is friendly advice or a cunning plan. Now he can't marry Lesledza until he gets at least a rank. If that doesn't happen, she will refuse to inherit the throne. This means they have carved out more time for themselves. He looks at Isabella and Zamanto and thinks that this whole situation is only convenient for both of them. The king tells Rousselch that he is glad that he treats him so well, that he said so many good words, and he thought that he would be angry and lose his temper when he deprived him of the right to inherit the throne. Rousselch smiles and says that it is just funny and that he always thinks about this country. He bows to the king. Lesledza and Ryuya look at him with suspicion. The next day, in the Adventurers Guild, Ryuya must rise as a high-ranking adventurer as soon as possible. He has a great desire to succeed in this for a number of reasons. Firstly, it would be nice if at 20 he could walk with an A rank. Secondly, the wedding with Lesledza. He thinks it's time to start thinking about the wedding dress. He sees Lesledza getting dressed. Ryu asks what's up with Noam's dress. She replies that they decided to make it together in the future. Ambingen asks Ryu if he listens to her at all. Andy asks if he should. Lundite comes out and tells Ryuya that he has reached B rank. Nuem has also been promoted to Y rank. The two of them saved hundreds of soldiers. She says that the special request from the royal palace to exterminate demons was approved by the Adventurer Council, and they decided to raise his rank. Ryuya asks if it's normal that he just jumped up from one rank to another, since usually you can only increase your rank by completing a huge number of quests and increasing your own strength. Londite shouts at them, who is to blame, that his achievements are so unique. Killing demons is an act that only gods are capable of. After that, what does he expect? Additional hugs. He asks for forgiveness out of fear. Then Noam asks why they only raised his rank to B. That's not enough. Even among the C rank carriers, there is no one who could single-handedly deal with an army of demons. She angrily shouts that only hard-headed old men sit on the council. That's why. Ryuya thinks to himself that he's glad that she's angry because of him, and that she's trying for his sake. But it's still a bit. His thoughts are interrupted by Ambion, who says that she feels like they've treated him unfairly, so she suggests that they destroy the entire council. Ryuya thinks to herself that she's only just appeared, and she's already saying things that piss him off. Londite says that even if that were the case, it's not certain that there was a reason for it. There is a special test to become an A-rank adventurer. She says that to obtain an A rank is a significant achievement, but legendary feats like killing a wyvern require a C rank, and that is a completely different level. Therefore, before that, in order to understand how special the A rank is, various evaluation systems were needed to understand what the candidate is capable of. At this exam, hundreds of outstanding B rank candidates gather every few years, and an exam is held to advance to A rank candidates gather every few years. And an exam is held to advance to A rank, lest the D rank, and Londite says that sometimes candidates die. Noam and Ryuya shout that it's terrible. Nuam asks when the next exam will be. Londite says next month, which is about 5 days from now. They are surprised it's so soon. Londite says that if they miss this chance, the next one will be in 2 and 3 years. They have no choice. Ryuya thinks he needs to pass it the first time, wondering how merciless this exam will be. Londite asks Noam if she is passing. She happily answers that she is passing. Ryuya is surprised by her answer. Ryuya thinks that she is such a calm and fearsome girl. She became an adventurer at about the same time as him, and is advancing at the same pace. This is the bottomless ability of the Alchemist King. Londite says she'll write another letter of recommendation then. They say they're counting on her. Ryuya says that it always turns out that she always takes care of him, and the food he eats is also delicious. If the local guild master wasn't a girl, his path definitely wouldn't be so easy. Londite doesn't know how to say this. She actually also waits for them to come every day. They will climb even higher and show her even more interesting things. And their progress is incredibly fast. Ryuya asks her what she said at the end. Londite says that she will take care of all the preparations, and they should come to the meeting place on the right day. Nuam obeys her. Amdongan asks what kind of place this is. Londite replies that it changes every day. This time it's in the south in the kingdom of Rubrum. Ryuya immediately thinks that he remembers hearing that name recently. Amion and Noom grab his hands and shout that since they have decided, they are moving out right now. She is ready to start whenever. Ryuya asks what he is talking about. This is not a walk around the neighborhood. They need to inform Leselbse. Prepare well. Everything is not that simple. A few days later, they reach the kingdom of Rubrum. This kingdom has a warm climate, is located in the center of several port cities and prospers due to sea trade. The blue of the blue sea is incredibly bright. Gnome is happy and says how wonderful it is. She sees the sea for the first time. It turns out that such a huge lake really exists. Ryuya says that she made too much noise. Ryuya himself also gets pleasure, because he also sees it for the first time. He thinks the wind smells different. Born in a back alley of Central Kyrian, he had mostly only seen forests, but now he finally saw it with his own eyes. Noam and Ryuya shout that is the sea. Ambinian smiles and says that their restless leader made such a noise at the sight of the sea. Ryuya is indignant that she looks at them as if they were country bumpkins. He asks her if she has seen the sea before, and she replies that, of course, she has. She asks him how many thousands of years he thinks she has lived. She has already explored the entire seabed. Noam says that, as expected, she has a lot of free time. She replies that this is not the case, and that she does different things from time to time. She says that magical spirits also live in the sea, so she visited them several times on various matters. Ryuya thinks that when he looks at Binyan's appearance, he sometimes forgets that she is a spirit that can cause a natural disaster and kill tens of thousands of people in an instant, and some like her live at the bottom of the sea. Noam asks if she is friends with other magical spirits, and she replies that there are those who are truly like her in spirit. She adds, omitting Noam, that there are also those who, for no particular reason, begin to fight to the death and involve all living beings nearby in this. Ryuya thinks that it looks like she can be a lot of trouble. It's good that he's friends with her. Noam says that when spirits are in the city, their appearance is so clearly visible. Binyan says that's for sure. In that case, let him remember to move around in the usual way. Ryuyu thinks what a convenient national feature this is. The head of the Adventurers Guild of the Rubrum Kingdom, Go Mojas, tells Ryu that he is out of luck. Ryuya asks why. The documents should be enough. The worker says that he doesn't have any abilities. For an A rank, this is unheard of, this can't happen. Ryuya wonders if it's really as the second prince said, and when moving from country to country, all the accumulated successes are reset. But since he's here, he can't retreat like that. The worker asks if he heard him, calling him Mr. without abilities. The main principle of adventurers, the more capable, the higher, in other words, people without abilities have nothing to do here. He says he doesn't know what trick he used to get the recommendation, but he's taking the exam this time, so he's out of luck. He'll never allow such an illegal act. Ryuya says he didn't do anything illegal. He says there's no way a person without ability could get a recommendation legally. He hands over a recommendation and says, so the head of the Guild of the Kingdom of Centakillion is a young girl. It's clear why she's so empty-headed. But never mind. She'll definitely take responsibility for this mistake. And this recommendation was written so crudely and with a trembling hand. Ryuya clenches his fist and thinks that he can still endure insults towards himself, but towards Londite. He says that the results he achieved in his homeland, he calls raw, they were specially written in simple language. This should prove that he is a capable person. He shouts that he destroyed the monster with a killing blow. Obviously for him, this is complete nonsense. If he wanted to rise higher, he could have come up with something better. Ryuya thinks that monsters can destroy an entire country on their own. They are the natural enemies of humanity. Even if he didn't believe it right away, why treat him so rudely and unfairly? The worker shouts that he forged an official document, for which he faces prison. Now he will find out how strictly they treat criminals in his country. And at the same time, the head of the guild who drew up such an absurd document will be removed from her post. Noam spills a drink on a worker on purpose and tells him he's being too rude. She demands he apologize to Ryuya. He screams what he's doing. He's the head of the guild. Noam says that no matter what position a person holds, if he doesn't know etiquette, there's no point in answering him politely. He screams who the hell she is. Ryuya thinks that, thanks to Noam, he didn't crush that Mojas. But still, Noam says that she also wants to take the A-rank exam. If he looked at the documents, he would understand where his eyes are looking. Ryuya thinks how small her vocabulary is. Mojasa asks if she is really going to take the exam. He reads and sees that she has the special ability of SS rank Alchemy King. He shouts to her that she is indeed suitable for the experiment. He suggests that they start preparing the documents right away. Noam declares that she will participate together with Ryuya. Mohasa yells that she is saying such things. Let her leave this person. Only talented geniuses like her are fit for A rank. She replies that it doesn't matter. Ryuya has no abilities. She says that she saw with her own eyes how easily he destroyed monsters, demons, and heroes. If Ryuya can't pass the exam, then she leaves. Mojasa says that even if she says so, only a few without abilities are recognized. Ryuya thinks that still, people like him were recognized. Mojasa says okay. He suggests starting a formal procedure. If in the future word gets out that such capable A-ranks people will appear at the exam he is responsible for, then he agrees. Noam says that no, he could not recognize a person with legendary rank abilities. In the future, in this world, his name will be remembered as a great fool. Mojasa starts to get angry. Ryuya silently asks her to be silent. Nuem says that he does not want to acknowledge Ryuya's power. Then she will give him a chance and grant him the opportunity to see everything with his own eyes. Mohasa asks what she wants to say. Noham says that there are monsters in the area. If Ryuya can handle them alone, he admits that he is incredibly dangerous. Ryuya is completely shocked and does not understand her. Mojasa yells that Ryuya can't do that, but if he can, then yes, he will acknowledge him. Ryuya stands awkwardly to the side. Nam tells him to suck back the drool he spat out, and also that she won't let him pretend he slept through it all. Ryuya says he's heard those words somewhere before. Noam says she made a deal so they can go show that brainless brute his strength. Ryuya follows her in confusion. Ryuya apologizes to Noam for having to do this for her. She replies that it is natural. He saved her life, and she has not yet been able to return even 1% of what he did for her. Ryuya thinks that if she hadn't stopped him, and he had continued to insult Wendite, then he would have attacked him and disaster would have been inevitable. Ryuya says that pouring water on him was unnecessary. Noam smiles and says it's okay. She didn't pour water on him. He doesn't understand. Wasn't it just regular water? What then? She says that this is a potion she developed, just in case something like this happens. It's good that she found it useful so quickly. He thinks that if in a few days he will be covered with some spots and die a painful death. He asks what effect it has. Noam says that if he had to give it a name, it's a hair reversal potion. Maybe a hair loss potion would be a better name. Ryuya exhales and says that it is good that his life is not in danger. The two of them go to the test. 20 minutes later, Noam and Ryuya are walking on the plains outside the city. Noam says that it is so spacious and flat, it is an ideal battlefield. Ryuya remembers Noam's words about him destroying all the monsters around the city. She said something like that. He calls Noam. Noam says she understands that he is worried, but there is no need to do that. She calls Ambinian, who appears and asks if this is the potion. Noam says not to be shy and take it. Ambinian thanks her and takes the potion. Noam hands her and takes the potion Noam hands her. Ambion's skirt rises. She is looking for something. Noam suggests that it might be here, maybe a little deeper. Definitely here. Noam agrees with her. Ryuya looks at him and understands what is happening. Here, Noam pulls a potion out of Ambinian's skirt. It calls Monster Pun. She says she made one for the purpose of research. Ambinian says she made so many. Noam says that she is from the stench that awakens monsters. He made a potion the last time he opened this bottle. This stench began to disperse in all directions, and the smell began to lure everyone to the center. Ryuya wonders what center. Ambinian points and says, in other words, it's here. Rai realizes that he must defeat them one by one. He asks approximately how many can be lured with this bottle. Noam says that the potion will cover the entire area of responsibility of the guild in the city. Ryuya is surprised that she opens such a powerful potion without any ulterior motive. The potion is poured out. Ryuya covers his nose and says that it stinks. How it stinks. Ambinian happily says that monsters will come running here immediately. They start to hear some sounds. Ambinian laughs and says they are coming. She says that they are beast-like half-humans with a vague slime-like form. She even senses undead among them. Noam made a quality potion. Ryuya asks how many monsters there are exactly. Ambinian replies that there seem to be about 200 of them. He is surprised by such a figure. Noam says this is the effect she was aiming for, and she is thrilled that the transformation was a success. Ryu says that yes, there are a lot of them now. But what will happen to the city then? Noam says that everything will be fine, because he will defeat them all. Ambinian says that they gathered them here precisely for this. Ryuya thinks that she hopes for him too much. Ryuya says that means if he misses even one, the city will be in disaster. Ambinian says that he won't allow such a mistake. She says that even if something happens, this city where he was insulted, let it be wiped off the face of the earth. Ryuya thinks that this has nothing to do with it. Ryuya shouts that they have arrived and that they will start with fast monsters. He punches one monster. The problem lies only in quantity. The length of his arms and legs is limited. He thinks there should be some kind of plan. He extended one hand and destroyed many monsters at once. Noam says it's a wall of compressed air and that it's amazing. Ryuya thinks it works great. It's enough for weak monsters. Ambinian says that information is being adjusted. Ryuya raises her head and asks what it is. She says that the effect was stronger than they thought, so monsters from a wider area are gradually approaching here. Ryuya asks, what if I put it more simply? She replies that their number already reaches almost 1,000 and wishes him luck. Many monsters attack him, but he just destroyed them all. Ambinian and Noam rejoice, saying that there were more than 5,000 of them here. But he is surprised and asks if there really were that many. People come, and with them the bald Mojasa asks what happened here. Why there are so many monsters here. Ki looks at the monsters and says that this is a predatory wolf, and these are the orcs, goblins, and even Contate that are familiar to him. And this is the strongest rhinoceros beetle, Cleos. He recognized Fuji somewhere too, Hanabachi. He says that he even defeated all the monsters from which they extract useful materials. How is it a special product of his city? How did this happen? Noam comes up and asks if he means to say he slept through it all. He looks up and sighs. Noam says that it is not Ryuya's fault, but that Mojasa did not want to believe in his abilities, which is why he agreed to such a thing. Mojasa says that because Ryuya killed so many monsters at once, they might not be coming here for the next few months, maybe even a few years. Umbinian says how disheveled he is. They tell him that this is good, now no one in the city will be in danger, but she does not know what will happen to the adventurers whose job it was to destroy monsters. She tells him to think carefully whether a D or C rank adventurer could do it. She says that they will begin the formalities of recognizing Ryu as worthy of the A rank title. He awkwardly starts to say something. Nuam calls out to Ryu. Noam says she still has some potion left. She suggests continuing to hunt monsters. Mohasa asks to wait and says she will sort out all the formalities. The girl moves away. Noam smiles and says that this is what should have been said from the beginning. Ryuya is shocked in the background, and Umbinian is proud of Noam. Noam calls Rui and says that he probably didn't even think about it. But during this time, they finished collecting materials from 5,000 monsters, and on the way they talked with the local head of the Artisans Guild. She left this word to them. She didn't even have to do anything herself. The young man is surprised. Ryuya says that this is incredible. The exam will be in a few days. He is thinking about what to do during this time. A rank the most. Their goal now is to pass the A rank exam. They need to find out how the previous exams went. Ryuya says that success only comes to those who do not do stupid things. She has only one rival, and that is himself. Nuam does not understand her, and Bion doubts whether this is true. Ambinian says if he asks what they need to do now, her answer is to wash their bodies. Noem and Ryuya don't understand her. Ambiana covers his nose and says that they smell terribly. It seems to be the effect of the monster bun. The stench just won't go away. They start sniffing themselves and asking each other if they stink. Ryuya says that he doesn't understand anything. Maybe they've gotten used to their smells. Ambian says that those passing by them are saying something like, "It's unbelievable. What an unbearable stench." Ryuya says that he thought it was from her. In such a commotion, she didn't even hide her presence. They think about what they should do to wash their bodies. They end up at a seaside resort in the kingdom of Rubrum. They are swimming. Ryuya thinks that they grew up in the interior of the continent and didn't know it, but it turns out that swimming in the sea is so good, and this form is called a swimsuit. It looks like it is designed specifically for a holiday at the sea. No one put their clothes in a powerful detergent she had invented. She said that she had a product that would wash away the smell from the body. She suggested that they wash with it when they went into the sea. Ryuya then told her that they should have used it right away, since she had such a product. Ryuya says that Noam is still late for some reason. He bought swimming trunks and got ready in an instant. Noam comes up and apologizes for keeping him waiting. He looks at her, looks closely, and doesn't understand what it is. She's wearing revealing clothes. Does she really want to feel like a young girl before getting married? Noam says she's actually embarrassed. The salesperson told her it was a regular swimsuit. Ryuya asks if he's serious. What about the other customers? He turns and sees others. He sees other girls and says how open and accessible they look. Someone walks around tied with a string. Noam closes his eyes and tells him that this is not right. He cannot look at this. He asks why. Ambinian says he needs to understand the girl's heart. Noam tried so hard. And he looks at another. She says that Noam bought a two-piece swimsuit, tried hard to dare to show him her body. For Noam, this is a serious test, so he needs to praise her well. Ryuya exhales and asks if he says it suits her. Will she take that as praise? She says she doesn't know, but thanks him. She says that this is her first time wearing a swimsuit, and there are so many different types here. He turns his gaze to Umbinian, who is also dressed like them. She asks if he is surprised. She tells him that she made him from half-spiritual, half-physical ectoplasm, and he can freely change his form. She has one trick that allows her to change him at will. Ruria tells Noam to cover her with something. She obeys and says that she is slipping so much. Ambinian hugs Noam and tells her to be quiet. She saw how the master panicked. She says that if she continues to seduce him as boldly, he will undoubtedly belong to her. But if she continues to behave so ineptly, eventually her skin will play against her. Noam listens to her awkwardly and asks her not to seduce Ruria in such public places. The guys turn around to look at the girls. Ambinian takes Ryu's hand and says that since they are on the sea beach, they need to have some fun. Noam takes his other hand and agrees with her. Ambinian offers to give them a lecture. She even knows the crawl swimming style. Noam tells Ryuya, offering to learn. Ryuya sternly tells him to wait. Did they really come to this country to have fun? There is an exam soon. They have something to do now. In the end, they have fun as best they can. On the day of the exam, at the central arena, Noam says that the exam is about to start. Ryuya says that he is so worried. Noam asks why he should worry. He will pass everything without any problems. It is she who should worry, because she has no fighting abilities. Ryuya wonders when she started to shine so much from looking for adventures. This means that this structure was built to hold ceremonies of the Kingdom of Rubrum, and bloody battles used to take place here. And now it has so quietly become a place of national importance, where the exam to raise the rank of adventurers is held every few years. Many countries of the world continue to help each other to hold it. At least that's what he heard from the guy in the short states. Ruya tells Noam to show the best of what they can do together. A confident Noam agrees. Ryuya says that besides, it's more likely that he has a higher chance of failing the exam than he does. She panics and says that it simply can't be. Ryuya says that he's not joking. He says that they don't know when this weirdo without ability pattern will pop up again. After leaving the country, he again felt the social stereotype of no ability. Most likely, they will not have to wait long. Then someone comes up and says that this is the same guy without the ability. Ryuyu thinks to himself that he jinxed it. The bandits with huge bodies laugh and say that a weirdo who doesn't know his place has appeared again. Is he really going to be an A-rank adventurer with no abilities? The other laughs even louder and tells him to stop, because a rank is not for him. He must have been spoiled so much by the class that he thought he could advance without abilities. The other asks him if he is ready to die, but he should. The world is not so simple that he can easily get A rank without an ability. Ryuya looks at them. Nameib is scared of them. Ryuya says that he really doesn't have the ability, however. That's no reason to give up, no matter what happens, come what may. They laugh again and say that he's brave. One says that among the A rank there should not be those who hope to somehow sort out the problem only with enthusiasm. The second one supports, laughs and says that if he thinks that enthusiasm will help him figure everything out, it means that he is still a chicken. The other one also laughs and says, does he know that to get A rank, one plan consisting of his iron will not be enough? The third one says that he doesn't understand the logic of how he intends to achieve his goal. It's just awful. Ryuya asks, so what? He starts laughing again and says that he is completely unprepared. He even came here with bare hands, and there won't be another A-rank exam for a long time. Does he really think he can survive all this without a single potion? Nothing can be done. Perhaps he will share the potions they have. He throws him 5 potions. They continue to stand silently. The man keeps saying loudly that the A-rank exam is not so easy to relax with only potions. He also needs an antidote and something to help with paralysis. The second supports and shouts that since he has no abilities, he should have prepared them, because they are simply necessary. Since he has no abilities, he should have taken care of his safety. They throw him more potions, a stamina drink, an eye medicine, a potion of goodness, a cooling potion, a potion of resistance to petrification, and a throat candy. Ryuya is standing there with boxes and bags of all kinds of potions. They all laugh, saying that even with them it is not a fact that he will be able to pass the exam for A rank, because he is very strict. If he really wants to get A rank, it is better to fail it, and only after that give up. And at the very end, he should shout that he will not give up. They leave and say that there's a new little boy there too, like the senpai. They need to guide them on the right path. Nuem says that they have as many potions as she does. She thinks that throat candy is very tasty. Ryuya stays behind with words of gratitude to them and then loudly announces that the greeting before the exam will begin very soon. The organizers ask all exam participants to gather in front of the stage. everyone gathers together. One of the participants says with a serious face that it is time to start. The presenters say that to begin with, they were provided with a place to conduct the exam, as well as assistance and all the amenities. One of the leaders is Sosidas, an A-rank adventurer, a curator responsible for the Brange promotion exam, and a direct member of the guild council. The second such curator is the A-rank adventurer Grinda, with a super pumped-up body. Soside says that he would therefore like to warmly thank the Kingdom of Rubrum as a representative of the Adventurers Guild. Another such curator, Adventurer A-rank's Labyrinth Guide's sentence, and the equally cool A-rank adventurer Saber-toothed Girl, Shigar. One addresses the audience as the future A-rank adventurers gathered here, as well as the narcissistic jerks who think they have a right to do so. Their job is to tell which of them is which. The first one says that, including him, there are 4 of those people at the podium now who they are trying to become. He very much hopes that among the newcomers standing here today, as many people as possible have become equal to them. Ryu thinks to himself that this means he will be looked at in the same way as them, the current A-rank adventurers. He thinks that it is quite rational. Shigar says that it may turn out that none of them will give in. Sentence tells her to be quiet. They announce in chorus that the exam is starting, and the audience is also happy about it. Then the presenter says what he would like to say, but before that, Ryu is disappointed. What else? The man says that they invited a guest to this exam, who said that this experience could somehow help him in his future as king. He asks to be allowed to introduce him. He reports that this is the first prince of the kingdom of Centakilian Zemnanto. Ryuya is surprised by such an appearance. Zemnanto tells the audience that there is no need to act so sad. He really is the #1 candidate to become the next king of the Centakilian kingdom. He states that many of the Rubrum kingdom may wonder why a prince from a foreign country is here, but they don't even need to ask because he has strong ties to this country. He begins to tell the story that his mother, that is, the second bride of King Centakilian Kyrian, and she was the former queen of the kingdom of Rubrum. In other words, the king of the kingdom of Rubrum is his uncle. He allowed him, his dear nephew, to look at them and learn. Ryuya starts to remember and says, that's how it is. That's where he heard about the kingdom of Rubrum. Now Ryuya definitely thinks that nothing good awaits him. Sentence says that there is definitely nothing wrong with that. In other words, since the Prince of Two Kingdoms is here, with his good grade, if he gets A rank, it will be much easier for him to carry out his future activities. Zemnanto agrees with him to carry out his future activities. Zemnanto agrees with him. Zemnanto smiles and says that the most important thing is that those who have a low score from the beginning will not be able to take a step and will not change anything. He finds Ryu. He starts whispering something to the presenter. He whispers to the other presenters. Has everyone understood that he only wants one thing from them? That those who are connected with Lisledza must definitely fail. The host says that if they receive a decent amount of financial assistance from the prince, then they will be able to help him with this without any problems. Ryuya hears everything perfectly well because his level is 80 million. Zemnanto says that Lizelt's face will fall off when he fails the exam, and his father will definitely make him his heir. And when he becomes king, he will never forget what he did for him. Ryuya says that now he is absolutely sure that this exam will not pass calmly. The host doesn't understand why this dog Lisledza came, realizing the hopeless situation. Ryuya says that he was hated, Noam supports him, and says that it is not true, and that no one hates him. The host whispers to Zemnanto that, as he said, he must have gotten here by mistake of his region's guildmaster. Zemnanto tells him that he is counting on him. Ryuya says that they get along so well. Noam says that they are true friends. The host tells him not to worry. When it comes to fighting, they will personally attack him. If he lets his guard down for a moment, there will be nothing left of him. Ryuya says that if he's going to do it, he can try, calls him a schemer. Noam doesn't understand him at all. Zemnanto tells him not to betray his expectations. The host announces to everyone that whoever is called, they must come forward. Ryuya folds his hands in front of himself and says that he will not give in to provocation and will not give in. She supports him and suggests that he try. She thinks that he is so kind, but a little incomprehensible. They call the participants one by one. They respond. Ryuya doesn't understand what kind of check of the absent is. They call Nuam. She raises her hand and shouts that she is here. Ryuya wishes him luck and says that he will probably be called soon. Nuam says that it probably will be so and leaves. The presenter announces that that's all. A bunch of people remain. Senses says they probably already understand why they weren't named. Ryuya says that the others have no abilities. He says that is true. He says that they have been branded as failures since birth. He calls them poor wanderers abandoned by the gods. They come here every time, despite the fact that there are so few of them. They have no abilities, and somehow they got rank. But let them not think that for this reason they are allowed to participate in the exam. Ryuya shouts that the rules say they can participate. Everyone else supports and agrees with him. Sensen says that all he can do is eliminate those whose logic doesn't work. He asks if they knew that since the Adventurers Guild began to exist, no one without the ability has ever reached a rank, and there will be 0 of them now, before, and in the future. He continues to say that apparently even the people who failed, who are incapable of anything, want to look at those who will have superiority over them in the future due to their powerful abilities, and this can benefit the entire Adventurers Guild. So maybe they will leave here before their bodies are stained with blood. He says with an outstretched hand that in that case, they will value them as people worthy of the absence of any talents. He asks what they will do. Ryuya states that he will pass the exam and that he has no intention of giving up. He originally came here to get an A rank. The soul of an adventurer demands to challenge the impossible. The whole crowd shouts that it is true, that it is exactly so. Senses has insulted them too much. But with such words, he won't even break cheese. Senses says how annoying they are. Why do such stupid people always smell of trouble? He says that in that case, for everyone at the location where the A-rank adventurer exam is taking place, he will give them a special exam. Ryuya senses something coming, so he yells at the others to watch their step. Senses laughs and says that it seems like there is someone with good senses among them. But as the person conducting the exam, he orders them that anyone who moves even 1 step will be instantly disqualified. Suddenly a hole appears on the ground, they all fall down. Senses tells them not to worry, because falling into the hole is not the only danger that awaits them. He keeps twiddling his thumbs and saying that he will simply lead them to the appropriate exam location for them. The moment Ryu was calmly and coolly sent into the pit using the shared gaze with Ambanon, he was convinced of this. He saw Sentence's information. A hole is created in the selected coordinates, allowing the space to be crossed, the entrance and exit of which are paired. First, you need to set the place that will become the exit. Otherwise, you will not be able to set the hole at the entrance. As soon as the exit coordinates move away from the caster by a certain distance, they self-destruct. Ryuya falls, head first. They ask him if he is alive. He comes out of the ground and asks the others if everything is okay. They are in a panic and don't understand what this all means. Some adventurer says that he threw about 20 to 30 people here. It looks like they are now in the dungeon of the Rubrum Kingdom. Another adventurer says that most cities are built over dungeons from which they gather resources. But he didn't think that they would set a trap here on purpose. Ryuya says that it was his ability that opened a hole in space, which he calls Daijin Spa. The others don't understand him and ask again. Sentence looks at them through his abilities and says that he is not bad and that he immediately understood everything. Did he really understand what his ability is? He tells them through the hole that he has a spare test for them. Incapable people. It consists of escaping from the dungeon. If they can pass it, he admits that they are still capable of the bare minimum. Their time is not limited. But if they do not hurry, the exam will end. And yet he is in charge of this exam. If they want to give up, they can ask for his help at any time. In parting, he says that he can still allow even people who are unable to do their job to live. Ryuya tells the others that they will go ahead. Everyone agrees and follows him with shouts. They shout that they will do it, show them what feelings they all came here with. Their hearts are united not only by their hatred for the high-ranking adventurers with a sense of superiority who offended them so much, but also by the results they came here with, hoping to become A-rank adventurers, and also the pride of those who do not have abilities. Suddenly, he sees the 3 who threw potions at him. One shouts that they will continue in the same spirit. The other says that if they all unite, then these difficulties will turn out to be just a trifle. Ryuya shouts at them that this means they don't have abilities either, and they ask, did they say that it wasn't so? They laugh and say that this is already their 7th exam to obtain A rank. Another suggests that everyone hand it over together. Ryuya thinks that they appear to be simple hooligans on the surface, but in reality they suffered the most hardships and suffering and still came this far. One shouts that they will survive even without the blessing of ability, because they have been doing this for 20 years, and they are supported by an unbreakable spirit. Ryuya orders them to stop laughing so annoyingly first. He understood everything. Everyone here, even without abilities, are very strong individuals. Ryuya asks Ambinian if she can hear him. She, hovering in the air, replies that of course she hears her master. It seems that he was sent to a very strange place. She asks if there will be any orders from him. She asks if she needs to destroy the culprit who sent him to this garbage heap and then save him. Ryuya replies that it is neither. He will try to cope with it on his own, and she should continue to support Noam. It will not be surprising if something happens to her. She says he's being overly cautious, as always. Noam seems to be doing quite well. She asks if he wants to use the shared gaze and see it for himself. He actually asks her to do it. He sees several other people lying wounded on the ground, with Noam standing confidently in the middle. The hosts are happily fighting with the participants. Ryuya doesn't understand what kind of strange situation this is. Ambinian says that this is a simple screening of candidates. Apparently, the essence of the exam is to withstand the pressure of the examiners. Apparently, at this rate, they want to leave only 10% of the candidates. He asks if she doesn't think this is too rough a selection. Ambinian says that she thinks that with their strength of spirit, they both can easily cope with everything. Is their soul really that strong? One of the hosts says that the Q-catch has been found. Ryuya asks if that means Nuem is in trouble, isn't it? Ambinian asks if this is true, maybe he wants to look at their abilities too. Shigar says she's such a troublemaker, she's too cute, so she wants to cuddle her. She meows every other word. She says that's her special ability. It's a pity that she was told to make a lot of noise today. She tells Noam that she is now at 50% transformation, so she doesn't even have a chance of accidentally winning. Depending on how long she resists, whether she passes her exam. Noam asks if she's asleep. How long will she keep talking? If he's going to beat her, she'll probably do it first. Noam says that they are simply the worst, and that people should not be judged solely by their ability or lack thereof. She says that Ryuya is an order of magnitude stronger than everyone else. But they point-blank ignore him and bypass him, and they even dare to call themselves examiners, which is what they do. She calls them heretics. Shigar angrily asks what she is saying. She doesn't understand at all what she is talking about. Is it really because she becomes stupid in a state of rage? Noam says how annoying she is. She says that even though she is a small fry, who is not fit to hold a candle to Ryuya, he hears her clearly. Noam menacingly says that she will give her a good beating and show her the difference between them. Shigar doesn't understand and starts screaming, that she challenges her, and that she is brave, since she dares to be so impudent to an A-rank. Another host tells Shigar that she is stupid and that she should not be approached so thoughtlessly, because she has the very ability of the King of Alchemy. Noam hits this Shigar with one blow. She falls and screams in pain. She is in so much pain, a feeling as if her nose was pierced by some kind of knife. Ryuya sees all this and thinks that it is a mixture of numerous smells. Noam says that when she transforms into a beast, the senses of her eyes, ears, and nose are proportionally heightened. In other words, the reaction to potions will be heightened. Shigar continues to writhe in pain and rub his nose. Noam says that feral cats react radically when someone marks their territory with another owner. And since she adopts the characteristics of a cat, this instinct is included in them, which means that many of her potions work just fine. She opens the flask and says that she will pour it over her body and it will be very interesting. Shigar screams that she thinks like the devil and asks her to stop. Noam throws the potion to her. Shigar screams that it stinks. The stimulating smell gets stronger and stronger. The two hosts stand and watch. Noam tosses her another potion. The host yells at Shigar that she is just like a pet. If she dispels the beast transformation, then she will not react so strongly to smells, and they will no longer be dangerous for her. Noam continues to throw potions at her. Shigar runs away and says that he will use animal reflexes and will definitely get away from her. Those two are standing there and understand that things are bad. She instinctively got involved in the game of dodging potions and fell into a trap. She completely underestimated her opponent. That girl's ability is an order of magnitude stronger than hers. Nurim throws another bottle that raises a lot of questions. The next moment, she explodes. Shigar screams and cries, covering his eyes. Noam says that her vision has also been enhanced. Thanks to an alchemical transformation, she made a light potion. She tells her to move over already. She's already tired, Let her be a little more farsighted, and pour all the potion right on Shigar. Shigar screams even louder and more in pain. Ambinion looks down and says that she really did beat her up, how merciless she is. Noam picks up a huge club with spikes. Shigar asks if this club is also an alchemical technique. She says that she bought it in the store. Shigar relaxes and says that this is good, and in the background the host shouted at her that this is bad. Does she really not understand what situation she is in? Noam tells her not to worry. After that, she will separate her with an alchemical spell. She doesn't understand what she is talking about. Noam says that as a result of the alchemical effect, it will become 10 times harder at the moment of contact, and it looks like the mass will increase by about 300 times. Noam swings his arm and begs her to die. She hits. However, in tears, Shigar opens his eyes and sees that the club is missed. A huge hole formed at the site of the impact. Noam says it might have been because of the sunglasses. She looks up and says menacingly that next time she won't miss. She asks what she should do. Shigar is in shock. Shigar yells that she gives up and asks her not to hit her. She doesn't want her to crush her like a pomegranate. Ambinion says that it looks like she'll stop being sarcastic now. Ryuya asks if that's really necessary after insulting her a few times. Grindo says that this little girl has become completely insolent. He tells him to stop because Shigar has lost. He says that, after all, the ability to transform into a beast has conditions, and it's also A rank, so naturally it can't compare to the ability of the SS rank. The presenter tells Noam that she passed the first part of the exam. He asks her to sit somewhere in the corner and rest. She obeys him. He says that he is very glad that such a talented girl like her with great ability passes the exam. He says that they will fight in honor of passing the exam and becoming an adventurer. Noam then asks if ability is that important. Then everyone opens their eyes in shock. He doesn't understand and asks what she's talking about. Noam says she hates abilities with all her heart. She says that she lived wonderful days before she received the ability. But she ruined everything. Because of her ability, life consisted of only bad events. Until one day one man changed everything with his own hands. And that meeting with that person brought her much more happiness than the ability of the King of Alchemy. The host apologizes and says he doesn't understand what she's talking about. Noam responds that there are many things that are more important than ability. She says that since he was one of those who did not notice, he too will be destroyed. Ambinion says he can't stop watching Noam grow up. She tells Ryuya that now that he's convinced that he has nothing to worry about for a while, well, even if something happens, she'll forcefully make all the enemies realize how unclean the world they live in is. Ryuya tells her that he agrees, and then adds that he will concentrate on his exam. The three ask Ryu what happened. For some reason it seemed to them that he was not with them. If he were to fly in the clouds while in the dungeon, he would easily die. Ryu asks him for forgiveness. The other brother offers him to lick a candy or salt, because moderate nutrition is simply necessary for traveling. The third one shouts to the guys in the lead to slow down, because the guys without good endurance are starting to get out of breath, and they obey him. He says their goal is to get everyone out of here. He will run last, so as not to get an unexpected blow to the back at the end. Tsuruuchi thinks that they are, in fact, reliable. From the very start, not a single one has fallen behind or been injured, all thanks to the perfect defense of these big guys. Ryua asks them why they took command and tried to act rudely. He tells him that he is asking straight to the point. He adds that Ryua is the same as them, and probably already understood that they treated those without abilities with disdain. Ryua says to himself that he understands this. The second one says that they have decided out of ignorance that they are weaklings, and therefore they constantly pick on them. They have become completely insolent, and they are also trying to intimidate them. They are not all right in the head, and no one would come close of their own free will. He asks Ryua. He also understands how strict this world is to people without abilities. Ryua thinks that his voice suddenly became so gloomy. The big guy says that their life as adventurers is full of bitterness. They are constantly underestimated, trampled and thrown out from everywhere. He asks how they are able to continue despite this torment, all because they cannot give up their goal. The three of them say that of course they will not stray from the path. Even without abilities, they will definitely achieve A rank. Because they all lacked abilities, he ended up with these guys who could not be broken by any difficulty. They survived and became true veterans, constantly refusing to despair. No matter how bad the situation was, they did not lose hope and continued to move forward towards their cherished goal. Ryuya says with a smile that he is amazed. One big guy laughs and says that, in other words, if he wants to become an A-rank adventurer without an ability, he needs to become stupid. The second one adds that this year, they will definitely become adventurers, and bursts into laughter again. One tells the other that he seems to be out of breath. He feels like he is running at too fast a pace. The other tells him that sometimes it is difficult to understand that you are completely exhausted, so let him remember this. One again says that he drank too much water, and that in the dungeon one must drink water at certain intervals. Another one points and says that nothing can be done and that he will share his flask. The third one raises his hand and says that they are now allies, so they will cover each other with all their might. Here Ryuyo says that the enemy is ahead, and to himself he thinks about allies. He says that it's not bad, of course, but he kills the monster with one fist. One big guy screams that this brother crushed him again with one blow. The second says that this brother defeated almost everyone single-handedly. The third adds that thanks to this, they move at a fast pace and don't have to worry about the rest of the journey. Ryuya thinks that their laughter bothers him. He shouts that the exit is coming soon. Is it him? Then he stops abruptly and wonders if they find this strange. Usually there should be light at the exit. Ryuya asks them to wait a bit because something is wrong. The big guy repeats his words louder to everyone else. One of them does not listen, happily goes there and disappears. They say that he disappeared, not understanding what this darkness is. Ryuya says that it looks like Dijin's spot. The big guy repeats it and says that it belongs to that sense. So the passage leading to the exit is one-way closed. Ryuya asks the big guy what they're going to do. He says they don't have time to think about it now, so they'll go through it. Ryuya starts saying that it's obvious that then the cap of the man who was swallowed by the darkness pops out of the darkness. The big guy says that she has already absorbed one of their comrades. If they don't unite with him quickly, then he could be surrounded by a whole house of monsters, and then he can't be saved. Ryuya thinks that he is right here. The worst thing in the dungeon is to be separated from your comrades. Ryuya says he agrees with them, and then gives the command to the whole team to move forward together. For the sake of saving his comrades, he is ready to do anything, even go to a deadly dangerous place. Only fools from the ranks of adventurers are capable of such. He has heard something like this somewhere before. Sensen sees all this and says out loud how stupid they are. The guys panic and think, this can't be. Is this really that? The big guy says that this place is exactly the same as the one they were thrown into the first time. The second one asks if everything is here. Someone asks if this is an infinite loop using another dimension's ability. Ryuya thinks that it seems like this smiling guy doesn't intend to let them pass the exam. It's like he's reading his mind. Sensen says that's not true. He says that he believes in them, even without ability. With just effort and enthusiasm, they achieve excellent results and will pass it. He adds that if they don't have the courage to do so, then they shouldn't even be given the right to take the A-rank exam. Unless, just in case, he decides to say that he is always ready to accept those who want to give up. Ryuya thinks that he has a lot of nerve. It's obvious what he wants. To eliminate them by giving them an absolutely impossible task. He simply justifies his actions with absurd logic. One of the crowd says that they look down on people without abilities. Ryuya thinks it might be because of him. Without a doubt, Prince Nanto's target is him, so he's involved the others in this plan. The big guy says that he declares that he surrenders here. Ryu interrupts him and tells him not to dare. Is he going to fall? He replies that retreat also requires courage. First they will leave here, and then they will appeal and tell the guild council about such an unfair exam. Now this is the best plan in his opinion. Amnian calls Ryu. He asks what is wrong. He says that he is busy. In the background, the brothers are already giving up and saying that there is nothing to be done. Ambinian says that he will be pleased to hear what she says, but first he will have to listen to her lecture. She asks if he will listen to her. One big guy says that this is the second round and there are already test takers who are exhausted, and that they are adventurers precisely because they are here now despite their weakness. Another says that in this situation they are placed within their limits, so they need to consider this a training session, and first get to the surface. Ryuzi understands, then raises his hand and says he's going down. The brothers look at him in shock. They ask him what he's saying. Has he really become strange after realizing that he is cornered? It is not accepted to go against the flow after 10 years, because the exit is at the top. and there is no one below except the bottom of the dungeon. Ryuya says he needs something. It's down in the core of the dungeon. He decides he'll just destroy it. They don't understand and ask what he said. Ambinion explains that the dungeon is just a curved space. It is born and maintained by the core. Ryuya says that if the core is destroyed, the dungeon will disintegrate, the space will change greatly, and therefore his ability will be instantly blown away. He raises his finger and says that in such a mess, they will get out of here with greatness. The three brothers say without emotion that they understand, and then shout that this is too reckless. They ask if he even understands how difficult it is to destroy the core of the dungeon. Because the core is at the very depths, it is unknown how deep, but not less than 20 floors. Does he know? They explain that there are a lot of monsters there, and even for an A-rank adventurer it is impossible. Let him think carefully. Ryuya wonders if they are all worried about him. Since they are such people, he wants to take the exam with them. He tells them that it's okay, he has a good idea. Ryuya takes it and punches straight down, making a hole in the ground. Everyone freezes in shock. Did he really break through the floor? One screams that he can see the lower level. Ryuya tells the boys that if he keeps hitting the floor at this rate, he'll get to the bottom floor very quickly. He thinks that a good idea equals hard work. Ryuya asks everyone to go to the exit and wait there. The big guy asks who he is. If he destroys the core while being at the very bottom, then the Razorpeshnia will most likely hit him. Ryuya says that to reach A rank without ability, you have to be stupid. He asks his brothers if this is true. After a silence, the brothers begin to laugh loudly and say that he is absolutely right and that this is great, so they shout to the others to listen to him. They tell Ryu that he has a wonderful hooligan spirit, and he suggests that they all get together later in a company of hooligans. Another says that now he too sees a way out of this situation. Ryuya smiles and says that it's great. He hits the floor again and again, punching and going lower and lower. On the lowest floor of the dungeon, Ryuya sees something strange and wonders if it is the core, and that it looks like a crystal. He swings and hits the crystal. Some noise starts. He wonders what it is. Is it really a signal before destruction? He decides that he needs to hurry and go back upstairs. He rises quickly. Everyone greets him, and they ask, "So this is a dungeon?" Ryuya turns around and asks if everyone managed to get out safe and sound. No one answers. Ryu raises his hand and shouts that they all passed. Everyone laughs happily and shouts that they passed. Sensen comes up to them and asks if they are joking. He asks in a terrible state if they even understand what they have just done. Ryuya replies that they put all their efforts into passing the exam, through willpower, through joint efforts. He says he doesn't care. They destroyed the dungeon, and it is actually the property of this country. Sensen asks if they even know how important the dungeons are. Countries use them to mine all sorts of materials. Ryuya replies that this happens. Sensen says that the economy of the entire state will stop, and this will lead to a huge catastrophe. Ryuya replies again that this happens. The big guy next to him laughs. Sensith shouts that with the disappearance of the dungeon, many jobs are also lost, and all the local adventurers are deprived of tasks. He asks them how they will take responsibility for the hundreds of ordinary people who suffered from their actions. Ryuya says again that this happens. The big guy laughs again. Sensen shouts at them to answer. Ryuya says that then he will answer him seriously. What is he talking about? Did he fall off a mountain or something? Ryuya says, does he really think they'll take responsibility? He's the Joker here. He's the one. He shouts that they were the ones who destroyed the core and destroyed the dungeon. Ryuja says that he was the one who destroyed the core, but he was the one who forced him to come up with this plan. He threw them into the dungeon and made the goal of the exam to escape from it, so they gathered with only his instructions. Ryuya says that without the ability, they found a way to do it. He asks in a rage, why did they destroy the entire dungeon? Because it was... Ryuya interrupts him and says that he said so himself. He reminds the words that he believes in them, even without ability, on just efforts and enthusiasm. They achieve excellent results and will pass it. Sensen asks, then who will pay for this enormous damage? Everyone points at him and shouts that it will, of course, be him. Ryuya says that since he is the exam supervisor, he prepared an example of how to solve his task after all. He closed the exit from the dungeon with the ability to warp space, which means the only way to get out of the dungeon is to break it. Isn't that right? But if he instead gave a task that is impossible to complete, then he is worthless as an exam supervisor. Sensen growls with anger. Ryuya says if he doesn't think that now is the time to act according to his rank and show them all how to take responsibility, calling him Mr. the current examiner of A-rank adventurers. The crowd shouts that this is true and that Ryak is absolutely right. He made them take the exam with absurd conditions, and when it came to it, they ran away. Where would they do the honor of an A-rank holder? Sensen starts laughing. Then he shouts that he doesn't care, and that he himself was initially against it. He did not want to be a curator of people like them. He was pushed into it, so it's all his fault. He is the chief examiner, which means the responsibility is on him. He calls a portal and shouts for the others to go report it to him. But he doesn't care. And anyway, it's the guild's fault for organizing such a stupid exam. He keeps shouting that he's not guilty and then simply disappears. Ryuya says he ran away. The big guy asks what they're going to do. Ryuya says that examiner told him to go to someone more important and ask him. They all confidently declare that they are not guilty. The other hosts see them and ask if they are the same guys without abilities that sentence failed. Why did they come back here? They failed the exam, so they should go home. The host says that they just finished the first part of the exam. This time the exam takers were so cowardly. Out of all the exam takers, they are confident in only one person. This conversation does not concern them, so let them go home. Ryuze tells them that they passed the exam. They don't understand what he's talking about. Ryuya repeats that they passed the additional exam. So now they are asking for the main one. He asks what kind of joke is this? Does he really want incompetent people to fight him? What is Sentence doing anyway? Ryuya replies that he left in a hurry. The examiner does not understand. Ryuya explains that during the exam he destroyed the dungeons and apparently destroyed him. He doesn't believe it and asks again. Ryuya says that he has a message from him, that he, as the chief examiner, will take full responsibility. He asks what kind of nonsense this is. They ask him how he destroyed the dungeon. There must be some mistake. Ryuya calmly answers that he really did destroy the dungeon. They shout that it can't be. They say that there is nothing to talk about with such a person. So he leaves them on Grindo and goes and check everything himself. Grindo says that if he actually destroyed it, he will hit it so hard that it will fly into the air. But if it turns out to be a simple throw, he will beat it up good. He comes back and says that it is destroyed. Grindo asks what that means. He asks that it is exactly what he said. What did Sentence do? Ryuya says that if he doesn't mind, then they, who are incapable of anything, can quickly explain everything. He tells him to lay it out. He tells them they don't believe him, shouting that it's a lie. They don't admit that someone without abilities is capable of such a thing. They decide that it's high time to punish him, so they give the order to arrest him. Ryuya tells them that he first says he doesn't recognize him, and then asks to be arrested, so he contradicts himself. They tell him to shut up. Does he understand how important the dungeon is, which is the property of the kingdom he destroyed? The host shouts that the Adventurers Guild will be required to pay a huge amount of money, and in the future they will not be able to get the arena to hold the exam. All responsibility will fall on them. Ryuya says that it was they who allowed this to happen, grabs him by the collar, and yells at him to shut up. He picks him up and says that since this is how it happened, the best solution would be to shift all the blame onto him and get rid of him. If everything works out, he will be able to compensate for everything with the life of one useless person, in which case he will no longer be useless. Ryuya recalls Ambinion's words, that someone like her could give birth to what humans call the core of a dungeon. Their fateful meeting took place in a castle, which in a broad sense was also a dungeon. Also, if he wanted, she could spawn a new dungeon core after he destroyed it, because she was ready to grant him absolutely any wish. Then he thanked her and said that he understood everything, saying that it was a good job. Ryuya thinks that when he is shown this attitude, he understands why everyone starts worrying about it when he tells them not to worry and leave it all to him. Ryuya says that they created absurd conditions for the exam in order to prevent people who do not have the ability from passing, and that it is not a crime that they fulfilled this unrealistic condition. He tells him that he has a superior ability, which means he can solve this problem instead of his escaped comrade. Soid screams. Here, Grindo intervenes and tells him to leave it to him. He asks that he needs to shift all responsibility onto him, then he will deal with him. Grindo activates his ability and attracts all weapons to himself like a magnet. It's called a steel exoskeleton. Soid says that he breaks down metal into fibers and creates armor from them, which is why he is called the Iron Beam. Ryuya is told that he can be proud of himself because he will die at the hands of an A-rank, and he takes a swing and delivers a killing blow of justice. At this moment, Grindo's iron hand falls apart, and the examiner himself screams in pain. 462. Grindo falls and screams while his armor broke. Ryuya says that his ability gathers all the metal in the area, and since his fist is as hard as metal, there is only one thing that can counter it. Soides freezes with his mouth open. Thanks to the strong feelings, Ryuya trained his body so much. Ryuya punches Grindo, who falls apart and flies back. The presenter shouts his name, does not believe, saying that this cannot be. Ryuya tells him that the condition for passing the first part of the exam was to defeat one of them, the examiners. He asks if that means he passed it. He asks if he needs to defeat him as the strongest of them. Then he will officially pass the exam to become an A-rank adventurer. He asks menacingly what he just said. He asks if he can defeat him. If he really thinks he can defeat him even though he doesn't have the ability. Ryuya asks, he is the strongest among all these small fry. He gets furious that he called them small fry. Then a member of the Adventurers Guild Council, Mr. Mario, comes and shouts at them to stop. He sees her and immediately freezes. The girl asks, because this is the place where the official exam for receiving A rank is held. This is not a place for bloody actions. The host immediately bows. Ryuya asks who it is, what kind of child. The host tells him to be afraid, because a member of the council stands before him. Let him show respect. He says that this is the girl, the council member, the one who controls all the adventurer guilds in the world. In front of him is the council member, Beast Mario. Ryuya decides that she is some kind of influential person. He doesn't really understand who she is, but perhaps he should bow. She says that he doesn't have to bow to her. She says that in the end, they are just parasites who only formally lead them. But in reality, they are simply ruining their lives. Ryuya thinks how modest she is. Maybe she is good. She asks Soides why he hasn't looked well for the last few minutes. Has he really gotten into some really bad situation? They tell him that his whole face is sweating. He explains that destroying the dungeon was not part of his plans at all. And he understands that the council will not be able to avoid problems. Since it had already come to this, he would say that this crime was personally committed by this man without ability. So he immediately decided to make him apologize to the kingdom of Rubram. She thinks. He goes on to say that he also sincerely regrets that he, a member of the council, had to come here in person. She says she wants to tell him that this is not good. E is the exam supervisor, so he is responsible for everything that happened during the exam. If he set a condition that couldn't be fulfilled without destroying the dungeon, then that was his own fault, wasn't it? He frowns. The girl says that she will ask again, just in case if it was Ryuya who destroyed the dungeons. He answers that it was him. She asks how. He replies that he went down to the very bottom and then banged on the core. The girl asks how he hit the cannonball. He says that if she doesn't believe it, then she doesn't have to. She replies that she just wanted to make sure, and that he said everything correctly. The girl says that all responsibility lies with the exam supervisor. This exam was conducted without the permission of the council members. It was their initiative. Everyone here is in shock. She says she has not heard anything about holding an additional test for those who lack aptitude. She asks the host, so what? She demands Soides answer for his actions. 496. The girl says that they all differ in the presence or absence of ability, belonging to the kingdom, gender, ideology. She tells him to throw away all prejudices and choose new A-rank adventurers. The evaluation criteria should be only ability and merit. She asked him to make a promise then. She tells him that she instructed him so that he would understand, and that is why he looks so pathetic now. He only says that he offers his sincere apologies. The girl says that he disobeyed the orders of the elder and secretly began to decide for himself what is right and what is wrong. Ryuya did not think that she would pick on him like that. She will wear him out. The girl says that she will tell him directly that she is disappointed in him. She thinks it is better for him to give up on becoming an S rank. He starts screaming, asking her to wait. She says that, of course, she's not going to blame everything on him. She says that if his claim that another person should be held responsible is true, then she will personally apologize to the kingdom of Rubram. And if she can't beg for their repayment, then she'll have to gather her courage and cry in front of him right here. even if she doesn't want to. Ryua thinks she's a 3-year-old child. Now she turns to all the participants in the exam. She says that she must sincerely apologize to them for all the effort they had to put in. He bows to them and asks them to accept her deepest apologies. Ryuya says that no, they didn't try that hard. He suggests that they move on to the main thing. She agrees. She says she will ensure that anyone who has not yet been told they have failed the exam will be able to continue taking it. She says that to begin with they will suspend the exam. A little later she will definitely continue it, so they can go and rest for now. Everyone listens to her. She turns to Sodas and says that before she goes to apologize to the kingdom of Rubrum, she wants to hear everything from him in detail. For example, why he did not do as the council demanded. He listens to her. Ryuya thinks that it looks like he's going to be really pressed. He wants to continue taking the exam already so he can finish it quickly. Ryuya calls Nuam. She says the most important thing is that he's safe. He says that he is also happy for her. He suggests that she go to the hotel, and she obeys him. Here the brothers start laughing and say that at this point they will also have to part with him. One shouts that it looks like they did not drop out of the exam either, and all thanks to him. The second asks to let them thank him, because they did not drop out of the exam after all. The third notes that traveling with him was fun. Noam asks what happened to them, it seems. Ria explains everything to her. He asks if there is a hotel they can stay at. Noam assumes that there probably is. By the way, Ryuya forgot to say that he can return the dungeon back, even if they are still a little worried. But that girl from the council seems nice. Maybe it was worth telling her quietly. Zemnanto was watching him from afar. What Ryu noticed, he thought he looked pretty bad. It felt like he was terrified. Did he have anything left in stock after that? At the hotel, Noam says she's the first to shower and that she's drenched in sweat. She says the shower is quite spacious. Ryuza stops in the middle of the common room and plans to immediately make it clear that there was no hidden intent behind this. He was originally going to get separate rooms, but Noam started saying something about how they needed to save money, so they got a shared room. There was no hidden agenda. She comes out and screams his name. She asks if he should take a shower first. She apologizes for not asking his opinion. He says it's okay, so she can go. She goes back to the shower. And Binyan tells him if he wants to save money, then why don't they shower together? He calls her name indignantly. She says that this is a logical proposal, and that deep down Noam hopes for it. She says to rub each other's bodies, to act according to instincts, because this is the best pleasure for all living beings. Ryuya dispels all thoughts and says that they receive alone and in turns, such are the rules of this house. And Binyan offendedly says that let him do as he wants. She says that she will take a shower with Noam then because she is sweating so much. Rhea stops her and says that it is impossible for her. He asks seriously how things are there. She asks if he really means this. She looked at what happened to that man. She had done a good job as a secret agent and had seen him taking some good fun. Ryua asks, so what? And Binyan says that the big little thing was very angry about what he did. So much so that it was hard to tell which of the two was the child. And Binyan sits down next to him and says that he is the strongest and almost never allows himself to rest. Does he really not want to lose so much that he is going to get rid of all the factors that could hinder him? Ryuya thinks that he doesn't want to lose. They might pick on him again. Binyan says that he will be punished accordingly. The guild will inevitably have to pay a huge compensation, which means he might even lose his A-rank adventurer title. But still, if it all ends like this, then it turns out that he got off easy. Everyone who makes Ryu look stupid should regret it. Let them get what they deserve. Ryuya begins to think. Since things are like this, he thinks it would be best to ask Binyan to create a new dungeon core later. But if he hides it for too long, he will be accused of not saying it earlier. It all depends on the right moment. Amnion asks, why not just leave it broken? He says, no, that's not right. Ryuya is for thinking rationally. He would like many people who could suffer from this to avoid such a fate. Amidon says she thinks he's exaggerating. They had a reason for doing it. She says about this man, the chief examiner, that he was put under house arrest, and he was already on his way to that place. Amnion asks where he thinks she's going. Ryuya thinks she's at it again, and that there's nothing she can do about it. He takes Ambinion's hands and says that he is grateful with all his soul for her always helping him with her boundless power. She is surprised and asks why he did this so suddenly. He says with a serious face that he is happy to have such a reliable ally as her. She blushes and says that it was not necessary to say that, but she is very glad that he said it for her sake. He thanks her. Here Ambinion's lecture begins, that up until now this guy was being followed by her clone. She reproduces everything he saw on the wall. It will be like a moving picture, and he will see everything himself. Ryuya thinks that he doesn't quite understand what she's talking about, but it's great. Many Ambinion clones appear. One orders the show to begin. In a 5-star hotel, Zemnanto screams that this is nonsense. Zemnanto asks Soedam how he will explain this, now that he is a criminal responsible for the destruction of the Rubrum Kingdom's dungeon. Soids asks if there will be problems if their relationship becomes known. He answers that there will be. He shouts that if people think he is involved in a crime, then it will affect his fight for the throne, and he should not come to this hotel like that. Then the evil Soids tells him not to talk nonsense. The examiner grabs Zemnanto by the collar and shouts that it was he who initially put him up to it, told him to screw up the guy he had his eye on. He shouts that he thought the job would be easy when he heard the man had no ability. The man asks to be let go. He shouts that he, too, thought it was a great offer, a task in which he only had to fail one man, and with such a reward. Then he adds that, however, because of this, he is on the verge of losing his title as an adventurer. That lousy brat beast Demario told him this straight to his face. But if her words come true, then it will be the end for him too. Does he understand this? Zemento asks why. He replies that this is because he is not obliged to protect him. If he dies, he will take him with him. Ryuya and all the Ambinion copies watch this and comment, wow. After this, it will be clear who will inherit the throne. Ryuya is also in shock while eating popcorn. Soid says he will tell everything. Zemnanto shouts that anything but that, then asks him to listen. He suggests that he take the blame on himself, and then he will thank him accordingly. The audience is unhappy with his words. However, Soids tells him point blank that he will not live to see this. He said that if we are going to die, then we will all die together. In other words, they have a common fate. Does he understand what this means? He pins him against the wall and says that if they both have to die anyway, wouldn't it be better to try to find a way out of this situation? He reports that tonight he is going to send to that Ryu and attack this incompetent. Ryuya immediately wonders if he's planning to attack him. He says that he will first kill him and then set fire to the hotel, so that he will not only burn his body, but also get rid of all possible witnesses, which will make it difficult to investigate this case. Ryus thinks that this is also what an A-rank adventurer is saying. Soid says that in addition, there should be an adventurer named Nuwam with him, and she should also be gotten rid of just in case. Tatsem To intervenes and asks if they can't leave her alive and just take her with them, because she has a very valuable high-level ability, and he would see her innocence and beauty. Officially, she will be listed among those killed in the fire, and they will make her their pawn. Ryuya thinks that that prince does not have the qualities required of a king. Soid says that this can't be done, even though it's a shame to lose her ability. She also needs to get rid of it, all for the sake of their safety. Zamanto then asks him before killing her to let him do it at least once. He asks if they agreed. Here, Ryuyo firmly says that this will not happen and gives the order to Abinun to proceed. Here, Soid says that he has already prepared everything necessary. If anyone tries to escape, then let him kill them. Then he realizes that his body is not moving. The second one screams that his body is also, he can't even move his fingers. They don't understand why and start screaming, asking for help. Soids tells Zemnanto to shut up. He said that they have to act covertly. Then Ambenion comes out above them and says that she would really like to see a pleasant sight during the panic of the people. They see her and shout that she's a ghost. What is she doing in the middle of the city? And is this her doing? She replies that this is exactly so, because they wanted to do something bad to her master. Samanto says that if she has a master, then she is someone's familiar. Then Ryuya comes, greets them, and says that it is him. Soid says that it turns out that he used a ghost and learned about everything. He calls him a scoundrel. Ryuya says that it is good that he understands everything at a fast pace. Ambinion tells Ryuya that the pathetic humans cannot escape from her shackles of consciousness. She asks if they will leave these suspicious people here until the morning. Zemnanto keeps screaming, asking for someone's help. He screams that he is the future king of the Centikilian kingdom. Soids calls Ambinion a pitiful spirit and shouts at her not to underestimate him. Ambinion is surprised that he shook them off and called her pitiful. Ryuya wonders how he was able to remove these shackles. He reads its characteristics and understands that it can change the direction of power and can redirect it back. It is activated by something touching the body. It takes over the ability of whatever touched the body. Ryu says out loud that he changes the direction of the force. Ambinion explains that this is an ability that the laws of physics themselves work on. It turns out that he can reflect even her telekinesis, which has no form or body. It has a rather rare ability. She adds that by human standards, he has excellent abilities. Soid says she spies on others' abilities and judges them. He calls her a sneaky ghost. Ambinion starts to get angry. Ryuya tells her to cool down. Soids then offers to explain to them what his ability is. Ryuya sees that he is using a vector reflector. The enemy tells him that all attacks directed at him are returned to the enemy with the same force. Since he received this ability, he has never been injured in battle, not once. Ryuya throws something at him and misses on purpose. Ambinion says that the stronger the attack is, the stronger it will come back. This ability affects the force applied, so it has no limit. She says that the rock turned to dust only because the throw is extremely powerful. Ryuya tells her that he understands. Ryuya thinks that an attack so strong that it can't be reflected won't work on him either. Soides asks if they think he can't attack himself with this ability. He attacks and says it's a big mistake. Ryuya speculates that the activation condition is its ability to touch something. In other words, it can return hits received from any other objects, even the reaction of hits to the ground, and the reflection is 2 times greater. Ambinion tells Ryuya that this ability definitely uses the pentagram. Ryuya feels that if there is no response, he will not be able to jump any further. He tells himself to stop thinking about such trivial things, and that his calculation is useless. Soids jumps on him and attacks Ryu with his sword, screaming at him to die. But Ryu easily stops his attack. Soids freezes in shock, and hesitantly begins to ask if Ryuya really took the attack with his bare hands. He immediately jumps back, and then he screams that this can't be. He has accumulated so much power with the help of multiple reflection that he could easily resolve even armor. He wonders if he really has an ability that prevents even cold weapons from cutting through his skin. He clarifies that he definitely doesn't have an ability. So in that case, what is it? Ryuya says that he is very surprised that such a gifted and arrogant person like him thinks that all this is because of ability. Soid says that from what he said, something similar could happen to someone who hasn't been given anything, so he tells him to stop lying. Soid says that indeed, the vector reflector ability is CC rank, and it is a first-class ability. The fact that he has this ability and is A rank is the inevitability of all inevitabilities. He attacks Ryu from behind. He screams that it can't be allowed that because of a talentless person like him, his A rank was taken away. 622. He screams at him to die. Instinct telling him that after that he, the possessor of a superior ability, will be saved. Ryuya says that the small fry said the same thing. He screams because everyone should understand that he is destined to kill him. Ryuya thinks that this means it's a CC rank ability. This is the first time he's encountered an ability that has the power to ignore almost everything. Ryuya, a person without the ability, can only raise his level, physical strength, striking power, and durability. For him, this is the only way to become stronger. However, his ability makes everything he has achieved useless. This is the power of his ability. They are watched by Ambinion and Zamanto. The second thinks that this is incredible. What are they doing? Ryuya wonders if his efforts will be ruined by his talent. Then he abruptly says no. It's too early, and reaches out his hands to him. He understands that he's returning an invisible force, like a stone rock. He screams that he's an unteachable guy. He won't even be able to grab him. He reflects not only blows and cutting attacks, his ability can reflect absolutely any external force. He claims that he has no weaknesses. Ryuya wonders if that's true. Ambinion's telekinesis worked perfectly from the start. In other words, the reflection ability doesn't work automatically. He thinks no, she probably isn't capable of it. Ryuya asks him what will happen if he keeps trying to grab his shoulders. Soid says he started talking because he was starting to get short of breath. He had met a few fools like him before. He adds that this has happened to everyone. He declares that he will kill him. He stabs him in the stomach with a knife and goes into shock. He thinks, can he even hurt his stomach? He calls Ryu a monster. He decides to make 1,000 swings at incompetence. At this time, Noam is sleeping peacefully. After a while, Soiji's arm starts to go numb, at which point Ryuya manages to put his hands on his shoulders and says that it happened pretty quickly. He was ready to spend a month on it. After that, he squeezes his shoulders until they crunch. Soij screams in pain. Ambinian asks if Ryuya thinks that if all his bones were compressed, it looks like he won't be able to become an adventurer anymore. Ryuya says that he actually wanted to cut him in half. Ambinian says that it is fair. Zemnanto looks at them with a face full of fear and horror. His mouth is slightly open, his teeth are shaking, and sweat is pouring down his face. Ryuya turns to Zemnanto and says it's his turn. Behind him lies Soij, writhing in pain and seemingly crawling towards him. He tells him that he is a very vindictive person, and in pursuit of the throne apparently, he does not choose the methods. He gets scared, backs away, but the power of Ambinian stops him, and says that in fact it was not he who planned their murder. At the same time, he asks someone for help, to save him. Ryuya says the mere fact that he spoke about the murder indicates his involvement. He asks if he understands that if his father finds out about this, he will definitely not become king, or will rather choose to die a glorious death right here. Zemnanto's face is full of fear. He is shaking with the knowledge that he is finished. Zemnanto screams that he doesn't want to die, and for his father to speak up too. He leans back, waving his arms wildly like a small child, and is stopped by the power of Ambinian. He suddenly smiles and says that he doesn't want to. He reaches out, holds his middle finger between his thumb, and yells at him to eat it, like he's going to flick him. He uses his royal skill called flattery, and snaps his fingers, making everything around him glow. Ryuya freezes in place, not understanding what kind of king skill this is. Zemnanto laughs and says that he let his guard down. He thought that the successors don't have skills. His skill is not as simple as Laseltz's. Zemnanto enchants with her voice, telling you to listen to the voice of the idol, to obey its words. Everyone who hears it will do whatever she wants. This is the skill inherent in blue bloods. Ryuya feels his voice echoing in his chest. What is this feeling of boundless respect? It seems as if his heart is naked, this unbearable warm feeling. Zemnanto whispers to him that he is now his master. His power is his power. Ryuya turns to him and calls him master. Zemnanto says that this is exactly so. Now he will do the following at his request in full. At this point, Ryuya punches Zemnanto in the face. Ryuya says that this is impossible. He tells Zemnanto that his voice truly resonated in his chest, but his voice did not touch him at all, which means he cannot command him. He says that it is not skill that makes him the one who commands people, but only his qualities and actions. Without them, he cannot be a king. Only Laseltza had a voice that could shake thousands of hardened hearts. Her words made the heart beat faster. Zemnanto lies on the ground, almost unconscious, with his nose bleeding. Ambinian exhales. Ryuya asks what is wrong. Does he think hitting a person from the royal family was a bad idea? Ambinian replies that no, just think. His skill didn't work on him. He is actually a very strong-willed person. Ryuya replies that he doesn't think so, that with such a brainless master, such a skill would be able to subdue anyone. Ambinian says that it is not so. He knows that almost no one in the history of mankind could resist such a skill as his. Ambinian says that maybe this means that he is no longer human, but something even higher. How interesting. Then she adds that hitting him was the right decision. Ryuya smiles and says that it was necessary from the start. Since they were able to stop the main instigators, all that was left was to send Ambinian to deal with the rest of the small fry, and that would be the end of their business with investigating the crime in Rubrum. Someone suddenly shouted that it was too early.